We've taken over at Tottenham Hotspur with the sole aim of making them the best club in the world. Last season we lost the Carabao Cup, but qualified for the Champions League and won our first FA Cup in over 3 decades. And in today's episode, with a new season upon us, the transfer window open and some big decisions to be made about certain players in the squad, it's time to get down to business. And as ever, if you are enjoying the series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get into today's episode. Before we do that though, it's time for the boys to celebrate last season's FA Cup success in style with an open-top bus parade across North London. It's the first time in a long time that the Spurs fans have seen their players celebrate with a trophy, and they'll surely be hoping it's the first of many more to come. However, now it's time for the hard work to get started once again, and as always, we're starting off with your comments. For next season, I think you should sell Hotspur and replace him with Conor Gallagher, as he was linked with Spurs in the transfer window and would be a realistic option in my opinion. Now, to be honest, I'm kind of reluctant to sell Hotspur this summer, and there are a few reasons why. First and foremost, with him being rated 85, he is my highest rated midfielder in the club alongside Rodrigo Bentancur, and I think I would struggle to bring in a realistic replacement for the Dane who could operate either at the same level or even better. However, with him being 28 years of age and only having 12 months left on his contract, perhaps there are legs in the idea of potentially selling him this summer. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Should I keep or should I sell Pierre-Emile Hotspur? Now, Conor Gallagher is quite an interesting option to potentially replace him. He's 4 years younger and he's homegrown, plus he offers us Premier League experience. It looks like Everton have snatched him up from Chelsea on this career mode, but I'm sure if he was given the option to make the jump back to London and back to a team playing in Champions League, he would be more than happy to do so. I think you should get Jota, as he's heavily linked with Spurs, even though he's just joined Saudi. He wasn't picked for their team, so I think he could be the best option. I would like Kubo as well, as he would also be very realistic. So yeah, Jota is definitely one that has been named a couple of times, and obviously with his realistic links to Spurs in real life and his links to Ange Postecoglou, it's no surprise to see both his name and Tottenham's name put together several times over the transfer window. As for Kubo, he has been named by so many different people. You have flooded the comments desperate for me to sign the young Japanese man, and with him being left-footed and offering a lot of versatility in wide and central areas, he's clearly got some quality to add to the squad. After stellar performances this season, I'm sure big clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern Munich are going to come after your players, so to make it realistic and challenging, accept the first 3 offers from big teams, or teams you reckon would suit the storyline of that player. Now, it's funny you should say that, because now I think is the perfect time to talk about this man, Destiny Udogie. Now, last season he was able to rack up a total of 39 appearances in all competitions, but according to him, that still wasn't enough game time that he wanted, and so frustratingly he has decided to hand in a transfer request. Now, obviously with him being 21 years of age and already 81 rated, he is someone I would be desperately keen to keep at the club, but when a team like Barcelona come in for you with an offer of £40.2 million, it's kind of hard for him not to have his head turned. And so after managing to negotiate an even better deal with Barcelona legend Xavi, it is with some serious regret that we see our first casualty of the Tottenham Hotspur squad this summer, as Destiny Udogie departs from Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for a fee of £48.4 million to Barcelona. Now, his departure has helped lift our transfer budget up to £156 million this summer. Now, I can either use that cash to try and bolster my defence by bringing in some big names on a very big transfer fee, or perhaps I can look slightly closer to home. Now, I've got a 24-year-old Ryan Sessegnon who played backup to Udogie last season and has kind of been in and out of the Spurs team ever since he joined due to injury several years ago. I've got a 27-year-old Sergio Reguilon who spent last season on loan at Manchester United, and whilst technically he is now my highest rated left back at 80, with him only having 11 months left on his contract and with the club looking to move him on in real life, realistically, I've added him to the transfer list, as he's probably going to be someone to look to depart Tottenham this summer. Or I can look at what I think is the most attractive option and try to bring through a player who has got Tottenham Hotspur Football Club running through his veins. Now, Sergio Ayala joined the club at 16 years of age, and he's come through my youth academy to be promoted to the senior team, and he is now currently on loan at Leeds United. He made his debut for the club last season and showed that he wasn't fazed by the occasion at all by picking up the Man of the Match award. And with him impressing on loan at Leeds last season, and with him now moving up to a 69 rating, I think he is someone that has the potential to be an absolute superstar on the left-hand side of our defence. And so with that in mind, I have decided to recall him from his loan from Leeds and move him straight into my starting 11. It's a bold move, but I want to be seen as a manager who gives young players an opportunity to impress at the club. And if he can fill the void that Destiny Udogie has left behind last season, then I think we are going to have a real gem of a player on our hands. Now, the recurring storyline running through last season was the battle between Richarlison and Dusan Vlahovic up front. And trying to get the best out of those strikers forced me to change my formation altogether. And whilst Dusan Vlahovic did have a difficult start to life in Tottenham colours in the back end of the season, he did end up coming alive to become our top goal scorer for the season last year. However, with the return of this young man, Aleo Feliz, from his loan spell last season, I now have a huge decision to make up front. And so with that in mind, and after scouring through your comments, I have made the decision Dusan Vlahovic stays and the Brazilian number 9 Richarlison will depart, as Aston Villa have decided to splash the cash, more specifically £45.3 million, to secure the 27-year-old services. And it seems like his departure has then kicked open the revolving door at the club, starting with Chelsea continuing their pattern of overspending on average players that perhaps they don't need, as they have decided to splash out £32.7 million on Manor Solomon. And with Sergio Reguilon seemingly doing enough to impress another Premier League club on his loan spell at Manchester United last season, Aston Villa have also decided to splash the cash once again, this time £17.9 million on the Spaniard. Japhet Tanganga is the next man to depart, as Brighton have decided to snap him up for £8.6 million. And with Jed Spence failing to nail down a place in both my team on career mode and Ange Postecoglou's team in real life, Fulham have decided to make a punt on the young man. £12 million later, he departs as well. And finally, having spent a season on loan at a French team a couple of seasons ago, Joe Rodon has decided to go back to France, this time to RC Lens, for £7.4 million. And on top of that, we've also got some loan departures from some of my younger players. Pep Matassar goes out on loan for 12 months to Brentford. Alfie Devine will go on loan for a year to Club Bruges. George Medina will go out on loan to Burnley. And finally, Ashley Phillips will also go out on loan, this time to West Brom. And so with those departures now giving us a colossal £275 million in the transfer budget, it is time to get down to work to improving this squad. Now, to be fair, looking at the starting 11, obviously with the exception of youngster Ayala at left back, all of my team is pretty decent, with them all of them being in the high 80s. However, with my captain Heung-min Son now 32 years of age, with his contract expiring in 11 months, and with his rating already going down by -1 to 87 even before we've kicked a ball at the start of the season, perhaps it's now time for me to consider bringing in a new long-term replacement for the South Korean. And after seeing your numerous comments down below across the entire series, there is realistically only one man that I could turn to. He's a man who at youth level got experience playing for the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid, a man who's racked up over 42 appearances for Real Sociedad in La Liga, and someone who's got 27 appearances at the highest level for his national team. It's another incredibly exciting attacking talent ready to join the club, as Takefusa Kubo joins Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for £45 million. Now, Kubo primarily plays his football on the right-hand side of midfield, and with him being left-footed, and with me liking inverted wingers, I kind of don't really want to shift him onto the left-hand side right now. However, with Brennan Johnson being right-footed and starting the North London derby against Arsenal in real life on the left-hand side of midfield, he potentially could be the right man to move across. So I am going to change his development plan to be focused on a left winger, and as you can see, it really only should take him a couple of weeks. Now, despite me still having £224 million left to spend, I actually think my squad is looking in pretty decent shape. As I said, the starting 11 is absolutely sensational, and I'm really struggling to see where I can improve it. And as for the bench, I think we've got some really exciting young talent to choose from. And so for now, I think I'm going to leave Kubo as my only signing so far in this window. And as for anyone else, well, this is where you come in. Let me know down in the comments below, where do you think I can improve this starting 11? Where do you think I can improve my entire squad? And what type of players would you like to see me splash this £224 million on? And so with the players ready for pre-season and Kubo hoping to impress for the first time in a Spurs shirt, it looks like Vicario is very keen to kick off from where he left off last season. However, a tap-sober red card just 10 minutes into his first game shows that he's still showing a little bit of ring rust, having not played much last season. And as an exciting talent as Kubo will hopefully be, perhaps he still needs a little bit of work and composure in front of goal. However, before we start off our Premier League campaign, due to our FA Cup success last season, we have the small matter of a Community Shield game against Premier League champions Manchester City to get the season underway. City will be hoping to get their season off to a good start, but we will be hoping to collect our second trophy in only a matter of months. It's Tottenham, it's Manchester City at Wembley. It's the Community Shield. To Kulusevski. Oh, lovely done to get away from 2-3 players. Beautiful stuff. And Kulusevski plays a fabulous ball into Pedro Porro. Tries to think it back across into the path of Maddison, but it was good defending in the end. Vlahovic now for Spurs. We've started off the opening 10 minutes in fine form. Cuts it back into the path of Kulusevski. Back to Hotspur. There was no one in the box when I needed them to be, and the attack has slightly broken down, but Pedro Porro will try and fire it across. Well saved by Ederson. Haaland into Matches Nunes. Out wide to Jack Grealish. These two teams going head to head. And it is a real ding-dong battle here as we wing the ball again. Kulusevski, can I try and feed this over the top? I was looking for James Maddison and got it all wrong. McAtee for Manchester City to Bob. It looks like they're playing quite a few youth players here. Perhaps they're not taking the Community Shield as seriously as we are, but Haaland is. He tried to strike from distance. It was well intercepted and blocked from my defenders. Bob for City down the right-hand side, being chased down by Pavard really well. Pavard, though, is unable to put the challenge in. It's out to McAtee into Haaland. Oh, he's gone wide. Maddison into Hotspur. Nicely done. Into Vlahovic. He turns and going to try and look for Bentancur, who's in an acres of space. Bentancur, though, can he feed this into Hotspur? Yes, he can. And Hotspur's in. Hotspur, it's 1-0 Spurs. Well, Hotspur celebrates. The man who I was being asked to transfer list at the start of the season has clearly heard the rumours and clearly does not want to leave Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Fabulous piece of play. Lovely ball from Rodrigo Bentancur into his midfield partner. And Hotspur on the edge of the penalty spot just smashed it into the top left-hand corner. Ederson had no chance, and the Dane gives us a 1-0 lead at Wembley. Pedro Porro in field for Vlahovic. Nicely done. Vlahovic finds Kulusevski. Kulusevski drives into the box. Going to try and look for Heung-min Son at the back post. Well cleared by Luis. Ayala. Nice pass into Maddison. Maddison skips away into Bentancur. And Bentancur with a fine strike to give us a 2-goal lead. Well, it's all opening up here in the midfield, and Manchester City's defence was undone. Rodrigo Bentancur had a hand in the first, and he got his name on the score sheet for the second. 2-0 Spurs. Vlahovic into Kulusevski. Kulusevski has got acres of space down this right-hand side to run into, but instead he drives into the penalty area and to put the game to bed. He does just that. Well, in their attempt to try and press us high up the pitch to try and win the ball in our half, they have left acres of space for our players to run into, and Kulusevski took full advantage. A fabulous finish with his left foot. It is 3-0 at Wembley. And it is time for Cuba to make his official debut in a Spurs shirt, as he will come on the right-hand side of midfield for Kulusevski. Looks like it's going to be De Bruyne who's going to take the corner, and it looks like he's going to go short. He does go short to Jack Grealish. They will be desperate to get at least a consolation goal for pride, if anything, as Grealish tries to drive into the box. Well defended by Pedro Porro, and it's been the story of the game as Kubo now, with his first proper dribble in a competitive Spurs game, tried to play a ball through into the path of the striker, but it was just offside. McAtee on the right-hand side for City now. Going to try and fire it across, presumably. Just dinks it across instead, and Phil Foden gets there ahead of Christian Romero. And City have the goal. Well, it's been a pretty poor display overall from City here. And Vicario, though, will be absolutely devastated that he hasn't been able to keep a clean sheet. Phil Foden just snuck in there ahead of a Romero who just fell asleep at the near post. And City have a consolation goal back, 3-1. But it turns out that that will be the last chance of the game as the Spurs players celebrate. It's our second trophy in only a matter of months. An incredibly professional performance all round here in the Community Shield final. And in Son's absence, it will be the man who was subject to some transfer speculation at the beginning of the season, Pierre-Emile Hotspur, lifts the Community Shield for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club as we get our season off to a cracking start. And after securing victory against one Manchester club, it's time for us to travel to Manchester in order to hope to do the same to another. It is Manchester United against Tottenham Hotspur Football Club at Old Trafford in our very first game of our new Premier League season. Our starting 11 is a similar theme to what it was last year, with the likes of Vicario starting in goal, Pedro Porro, Romero and Pavard in the centre of defence, with Sergio Ayala about to make his Premier League debut for the first time in a Tottenham shirt. Bentancur and Hojbjerg make up the centre of the park, with the likes of Kulusevski, Maddison, Heung-min Son playing behind Vlahovic up front. Aleo Valiers and Kubo will both be hoping to make their first starts for Spurs in the Premier League in this career mode, as both of them make the bench. Down to Garnacho on the left-hand side, and look at this for space he's got. Where on earth is Pedro Porro? He's being chased down here by Hojbjerg. Well intercepted and challenged there from Christian Romero, but where on earth was Pedro Porro? Pavard under a bit of pressure, but finds a nice lofted ball over to Pedro Porro on the right-hand side, who took it down well and finds Kulusevski. Can he find a man? And Heung-min Son at the back post? No, he can't, because Onana is there ahead of him. Maddison's come deep into Pavard under a bit of pressure, ends up losing the ball to Antony. Really cheap from him there. Donny van der Beek to bring it forward. Back into the path of Antony on the right-hand side. Drives into the penalty area. Lovely stuff to shift it onto his left. And Benjamin Pavard made amends with a block. Comes out to Garnacho on the edge of the box here. Nice pass into the path of Antony. He looks like he is in the mood to try and get himself on the score sheet. He was chased down by Romero. Dalot into the box though. Dalot continues. Oh, it's Ayala on his debut. Cool, calm and collected at the back. Brilliant piece of defending, and he does well to get the ball clear as Heung-min Son under pressure here. Pavard, United pressing relentlessly, and we just about managed to beat the press and get the ball clear with Hojbjerg. Malacia into Christian Eriksen. It's been all Manchester United in this opening 30 minutes here as they look to impress in front of the home fans. Nice ball back to Garnacho, twisting away from Pedro Porro and Højlund. Oh, he was very close there if it were not for a Vicario save. Looks like they're going to go for a corner, and looks like they're going to go short. They do go short. Christian Eriksen picks it up. The former Spurs man dances around the man who was brought in to replace him in James Maddison. But Benjamin Pavard with a good challenge gives it to Maddison. Can we try and hit them on the counter-attack here? Kulusevski plays it back to Maddison on the right-hand side. He's got space to run into here. I'm going to try and see if I can feed a ball into Vlahovic. It was good defending from Herrero. James Maddison to try and float this one into the penalty spot. Looks for Heung-min Son. It goes over the bar. Bruno Fernandes for United into Christian Eriksen. Eriksen into Garnacho. Into Højlund. Højlund into Antony. United threatening once again. Back into Højlund. Oh, it's fallen for Garnacho right in front of the 6-yard box. And he makes no mistake. Well, it was a nice piece of build-up play from United as Antony went past Ayala. And it was just unfortunate for Vicario. He went down to try and save, and it ended up bouncing into the path of Garnacho at an empty net to just smash the ball into. It's 1-0 Manchester United. Donny van der Beek into Højlund. Højlund's going to try and look for Garnacho. He finds him. Garnacho chased down by Romero, and Ayala can be the man to bring the ball away. Heung-min Son into James Maddison. Nice play into Rodrigo Bentancur. He's got Ayala over to the left-hand side, and he finds the overlapping run of the young Argentinian. He drives into the edge of the box, cuts it back into James Maddison, and James Maddison puts it wide. And with an hour on the clock, the time has come for our new signing Kubo to make his debut. He comes on for the captain Heung-min Son. He will switch to the right. Kulusevski will switch to the left. And he's got to try and see if he can find a way back into the game for us. Bruno Fernandes for Manchester United. Nice pass out to Malacia on the left-hand side. And he's gone past Pedro Porro, who again has fallen asleep there on this right-hand side of defence. He's one-on-one with him. Pedro Porro can't put a challenge in. Correa wins it. Good goalkeeping from Vicario. Going to be a corner to Manchester United that Antony is going to take. And he goes short to Bruno Fernandes. Fernandes with a bit of a wayward pass there. And that potentially was a big issue for Manchester United as James Maddison wins the ball back. He's going to play it into the path of Dusan Vlahovic, and Vlahovic drives into the box. Vlahovic to strike. Vlahovic to get us back on level terms. Well, that was all down to a woeful corner from Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes gave the ball away, and when Maddison was able to win it high up the pitch, he just fed in Vlahovic. And when you give that man that much time and space, he will make you pay. It's his first game of the season. It's his first goal of the Premier League. It's our first goal. It's 1-1 into Hojbjerg. Hojbjerg, though, challenged in the centre of the park, and it's fallen to Correa here down the middle into Garnacho. United looking to strike back immediately, but Benjamin Pavard is there with a brilliant piece of defending. Kulusevski, though, skips past the challenge of Luke Shaw and now releases Ayala down the left-hand side. He goes infield for Vlahovic. Vlahovic back to Ayala. End-to-end stuff here at Old Trafford as both teams look to try and see if they can get a winner. Good goalkeeping from Onana there to block the cross. Kubo, with his first real touch of the game, he's been fairly quiet since he's come on, and he finds Maddison. He's going to try and look for the return ball. He does find the return ball. Kubo back into Vlahovic, who tries to strike, and he puts it over the bar. Malacia for United. Only a couple of minutes remaining in this game, and out of the two teams, it now looks like it's going to be United who are going to be the most likely to find the winner. But Christian Romero with a brilliant challenge on Mason Mount. Leo on as a substitute for Vlahovic. Had the opportunity to play Kubo in there, and he didn't take advantage of it. The referee blows for full time. Well, an end-to-end game here at Old Trafford sees the two teams share the points in the Premier League opener. That man Vlahovic will be happy with his display, as his goal got us back on level terms. As at full time here it finishes United 1, Spurs 1. It was a difficult start to our Premier League campaign, but a very positive start for Dusan Vlahovic. An assist in the Community Shield and a goal in his very first Premier League game this season. A much better start to life in his second season at the club than it was his first, and he will be hoping he can continue this fine form for the remainder of the season. It was a real baptism of fire for the young Argentinian, who unfortunately got done for the opening goal for Manchester United. Going forward, he was a threat, and overall his game was pretty good, but it is those little mistakes that the young man will be hoping to cut out as the season progresses. But now, though, it's time for us to move on to our last game of the episode, but our first game back at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the Premier League. And it's a game that sees us welcome Leicester City back to the Premier League, and one that we will be definitely looking to get 3 points from. Into Rodrigo Bentancur. I'm going to try and fire a ball right the way over to Kulusevski on the right-hand side. He's done a good job trying to get it down to James Maddison, but it's Harry Winks, the former Spurs man, to bring the ball forward for Leicester City. Cannon up front, out to Mavidi on the left-hand side. He tries to go past Pedro Porro, who hasn't had the best start to life so far this season. Harry Winks into the box, and Harry Winks looking to score against his former club, but Vicario was on hand to stop that from happening. Chowdhury for Leicester City. They look like they've started this game as they mean to go on. Dewsbury Hall in the centre of the park picks the ball up, unopposed, finds Mavidi on the left-hand side. He's trying to go past Christian Romero, instead goes back to Justin, gets it back from him. They're playing it around really nicely on the edge of my box here. Dewsbury Hall under a bit of pressure here, but Leicester City continue to go forward with the ball. We cannot seem to get it off them, and in the end, Kulusevski, fortunately enough, is the only man who's able to put a proper challenge in, and he brings the ball forward. And can he play a ball into James Maddison? He can. He tries to skip away from the challenge of the Leicester City defenders, instead turns, gives it to Hotspur, has the momentum of this attack on, but Kulusevski finds Pedro Porro back into James Maddison. He tries to cut it back. I was looking for Vlahovic. Instead, it will be Pedro Porro to fire it over the bar. Benjamin Pavard finds Ayala on the left-hand side. Ayala goes inside for Bentancur. Really nice pass to the Argentinian. Into Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son cuts it back to Ayala, who's drifted infield. Finds a nice ball looking for Kulusevski. He just couldn't get there. Tried to find Harry Winks, who looks like he's playing in quite an advanced position for Leicester City here, as Mavidi drives into the box on the left-hand side, looking to cut back in, looking for an option. Instead goes all the way back to the centre-back, but they keep the attacking move alive with Dewsbury Hall to strike, and it's a good save from Vicario. Dewsbury Hall with the corner. Out of the two teams, you have to say, Leicester City have been the most likely to score here, as bouncing around inside my penalty area, Bentancur will clear it for half-time. Harry Winks for Leicester City, been an ever-present in the heart of their central midfield so far in this game, but he's challenged by James Maddison, and he's challenged well. Kulusevski back into Maddison. We're going to try and look to build here as Benjamin Pavard brings it out from defence into Ayala. Ayala into Vlahovic, who's been fairly quiet so far, and he just can't seem to get it in a decent position as Leicester clear the ball. Heung-min Son into Kulusevski, tried to turn, but James Justin was one step ahead of him and managed to intercept. And now that's a wonderful ball out to McAteer on the right-hand side. He's held up by Romero, but manages to skip past him. Ayala desperately trying to track back here. It's back into the box, and it's a brilliant save from Vicario again. Heung-min Son wins the ball high, and Vlahovic has it. Vlahovic feeds it into Heung-min Son, and Son drives into the box. Heung-min Son, it's 1-0 Spurs. Well, it was the South Korean who won the ball back high up the pitch anyway, gave it to Vlahovic, who fed it back to him, and Heung-min Son with a fine finish to give us a 1-0 lead at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Into James Maddison. Surely now we've got our tails up here. We can hopefully see if we can get a second goal to see this game off. As Bentancur into Heung-min Son. James Maddison tries to feed in Vlahovic. Couldn't quite find him though. Cannon for Leicester City out wide to Mavidi, but it's well challenged by Pedro Porro. And he finds Kulusevski. Kulusevski in field to Hotspur. Hotspur with a nice ball into James Maddison. I'm going to try and feed it into Dusan Vlahovic, and he's just straight offside. Finds Brennan Johnson on the left-hand side, who's come on as a substitute, and he feeds in Aleo Feliz, who's also come on as a sub. Brennan Johnson back into the box, looks for Heung-min Son, and Heung-min Son gets his second, and he gets our second, and surely he puts this game to bed. Tries to play a ball back to Ayala, got it a little bit wrong, and now Preston Daka can bring the ball forward for Leicester City. He's got the pace to go past Benjamin Pavard, doesn't have any options in the box, but checks it back to Ricardo Pereira, and he just fires it against Christian Romero. Bit of a let-off for us there. Heung-min Son out to Ayala, who has been up and down this left flank with aplomb so far in this game. He cuts it back inside, looking for Veliz. Veliz just couldn't get there in time. And that is that for the end of the game. Heung-min Son will take the plaudits as his 2 goals are enough to give us a 2-0 win. As at full time here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it finishes Spurs 2, Leicester City 0. Well, the men who have been a little bit under the cosh at the beginning of this episode, the likes of Heung-min Son and the likes of Dusan Vlahovic and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, all stepping up to the plate when I needed them to. A draw and a victory gives us 4 points and puts us in 5th place so far in the Premier League after just 2 games. But a 3-1 win against Manchester City in the Community Shield puts the icing on the cake of what has been a pretty successful episode. And with £240 million still left in the budget, let me know down in the comments below who else you want to be seeing plying their trade in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt this season, and where do you think we can improve our squad in order to take the team to the next level. Thanks everyone for watching today, and I'll see you again next time. Last episode we made a huge signing in Takefusa Kubo, who helped us beat Manchester City and lift the Community Shield. And today it's time for Tottenham Hotspur to make their return back to the Champions League. And as ever, if you are enjoying the series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get into today's episode. And as always, we are starting off with your comments. Please can you give Alfie Devine a chance in the first team, as he's come on in a few big games before and deserves it, as well as Dane Scarlett. Yeah, so these two definitely look like big prospects for Spurs, and certainly look like 2 players that are going to feature heavily over the next 5 to 10 years. However, on this career mode, with Alfie Devine only being 67 and James Maddison playing in the same position as him, there's definitely no way he's going to be able to replace the England international. So I think right now it is great for him to try and get some experience on loan at Club Brugge. And I think the same can certainly be said for the youngster Dane Scarlett. He's currently on loan at Royal Antwerp in my career mode, and just as he is also 67, he has the likes of Dusan Vlahovic and also Aleo Veliz both in front of him in the pecking order to start up front. Hopefully he can get some much needed experience away from the club on loan, and he can come back perhaps next season and try and fight for his position to start up front. I'm not sure if you have already, but I would definitely convert Hill to a central attacking midfielder and give him some more minutes, because he's a young player who's had an unfortunate time at Spurs, mostly because of injuries and being loaned out at the wrong times. It would be nice to see if you could give him another chance at Tottenham. Yeah, so it's funny you should say that, because obviously Brian Hill on the game and in real life starts on the left-hand side, but with us having the likes of Heung-min Son and also Brennan Johnson and formerly Manor Solomon starting at the club, there wasn't really a position for the young Spaniard to try and play on the left-hand side. Now, as you can see from his development plan, I did actually try and change Brian Hill to a central attacking midfielder last season, and as you can see, it does look like he only has 7 weeks left until he will be able to fully make the transition. I guess the problem with Hill last season was because we didn't have any European football for him to get those much needed minutes under his belt. Added to the fact that he too had James Maddison ahead of him in the pecking order, meaning he realistically had no chance of getting in the starting 11. It was difficult for the young man to fully make the transition to central attacking midfield and to try and cement the position as his own. However, as he is only 23 and he's still rated 80 overall, he's got loads of work and potential to go, and bearing in mind we've got Champions League football this season, I'm hopefully going to expect some big things from the young Spaniard. I suggest a new left back because Ayala is still very inexperienced, so sign maybe Theo Hernandez, Balde, Cancelo or Nuno Mendes. Yeah, so I think there is no doubt that all of those players are fantastic players in their own right, and there certainly can be no question that it would all immediately come in and improve my starting 11 straight away. However, with Ayala coming through my youth academy, impressing on loan last season at Leeds United, and doing fairly well in his opening few games in a Tottenham shirt this season, I think he deserves the chance, at least until the January transfer window, to try and fully establish himself as our number 1 left back at the club. And obviously now, with us having £240 million to spend, if the young Argentinian isn't able to reach those lofty expectations, then we have some ready-made replacements on hand thanks to you guys who can come in and try and steal his position. You can now give Vlahovic number 9 because Richarlison is gone, and give Kubo number 14, his Real Sociedad number. Keep Højbjerg and renew his contract. Worst case scenario, sell him next season if you renew so you don't have to accept a reduced fee because of the expiring contract. I'd also keep an eye on the youth academy so you have a constant stream of players coming in to get some funds at least, if not for future first team players. Yeah, so there is a hell of a lot to try and unpack in that one comment, so thank you very much. Starting off with Dusan Vlahovic. Now, as you can see at the moment, last season we changed his number to 28. But with the departure of Richarlison in the summer transfer window to Aston Villa, who seemingly has been demoted down to number 34, it seems like number 9 would be the perfect number for Dusan Vlahovic to finally take over. However, as you can see, this number is currently in use by the new signing Takefusa Kubo. So as per your request, I will change his number to number 14, and I'll change Aleo Veliz's number to number 36. Now, the Højbjerg situation one is quite an interesting one. He's getting a lot of stick in the comments for people wanting me to get rid of him because obviously he's linked away from the club in real life. However, with him being 86 rating overall, he is my highest rated midfielder across the entire club. However, with him being 29 years of age and him only having 10 months left on his contract, I do have to make a big decision about his future at the club. And so, with me really hesitant to sell the Dane right now, I think I'm going to take you up on your piece of advice. Instead of me trying to sell him right now with only 10 months left on his contract, or wait until January where he can be poached on a free by overseas teams, I'm going to offer him a brand new 3-year deal that will see him continue his career at the club for the foreseeable future. It will hopefully retain his market value and give me the choice in January whether or not I want to sell him then for a reasonable deal. And you know what? I think it makes sense to do the exact same thing with Heung-min Son. The 32-year-old also only has 10 months left on his contract, and with him being club captain and an icon at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, I don't think it makes sense to just allow him to leave on a free at the end of the season. He agrees a 2-year contract extension, and just like Højbjerg, gives me just a little bit more time to consider his future and maybe think about selling him in January for a better deal. So let me know down in the comments below, with both of those players now signing new contracts allowing me to potentially sell them for more money in January, what should I do with them? Should I keep them both at the club until their contracts expire? Should I sell one of them? Or should I sell both of them? Let me know down below what you think. And so finally, in terms of my youth academy, I have to be honest, I kind of think I've left this area of the team slide over the last season or two. You can see I've got some okay players in there that are kind of continuing their development, but none that really stand out and that could potentially move up to the senior team and make an instant impact in my starting 11. This man, Rory Brooks, has the highest potential ceiling up to 87, but with him only being 48 rated overall, and with him already being 17 years of age, the big question has to be if he's even ever going to reach that potential, and whether right now he even deserves to be moved up to my first team. So with my 3 youth scouts free and available, maybe I should consider sending them out to try and see if they can uncover some of the world's greatest gems, just like they did at the beginning of the first season. So again, let me know down in the comments below, where would you like to see me send my scouts to, and what countries and continents across the world do you think do the best job of developing the best young talent? Now, as you can see, we have stumbled upon transfer deadline day, and we still have almost a whopping £240 million to spend. However, after bringing in Kubo to play on the right-hand side, I don't really have a burning desire to try and bring in any more players right now. I think overall my starting 11 is in fantastic shape, obviously with the exception of my left-back, whom we've discussed several times. And I think my options both on the bench and in reserve are pretty decent and realistic as to where Tottenham are in real life. So I think right now in the summer transfer window, I am going to leave Takefusa Kubo as my one and only signing so far this season. I'm going to see how the team plays out and how it manages to cope with both domestic and Champions League football in the first 6 months of the season, and then hopefully with your help I'll make some decisions in January as to whether or not I need to spend this extra £240 million. However, for now, with us sitting in 5th place in the Premier League table, unbeaten after our first 2 games, it is time to get back down to footballing business. Unfortunately enough, a Vlahovic goal and a late one from James Maddison is enough to secure another 3 points as we beat Brighton 2-1 away from home. And we then go and beat Bournemouth 3-2 at home, courtesy of another late goal, this time from Kulusevski. And we also follow that up with our 3rd victory of the episode, courtesy of a first Tottenham goal for Aleo Veliz and 2 goals for Brian Hill, filling in for James Maddison in central attacking midfield. It is 3-1 against Norwich away from home. And with things seemingly looking very rosy with us climbing up to 3rd place in the table, still unbeaten after our first 5 games with 13 points to our name, we are then hit with some pretty shocking news. Manchester City have decided to come along and meet a release clause for Yves Bissouma that I didn't even realise he had. And despite me doing everything I could to try and convince him to stay at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, the lure of Manchester City was just too much for the young man, man as he rebuffed any advances I tried to make to renegotiate his contract. He told me he just doesn't see his future being at the club anymore, and instead he decides to join Manchester City for £34.6 million. He tells me he's sorry about how things have played out and he hopes there are no hard feelings, but to be honest with you mate, that is absolutely no help to me whatsoever. It means he's left us in a little bit of a lurch in the centre of midfield as he's going to join Manchester City when the January transfer window opens, and it means for definite now we're going to have to get the checkbook out and try and look to spend this £240 million to replace him. So again, let me know down in the comments below, who do you think is the best man for the job? Who can replace Yves Bissouma? However, it is now time to look at the positives as for the first time in several years, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club are back where they belong. It is time for us to embark on our Champions League journey. And according to the media, we have been given a fairly favourable draw with the likes of Lazio, Feyenoord and Young Boys, all looking to stand in our way of our progression to the knockout rounds. And as the media gather around, as intrigue and interest rises at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the return of Champions League football, I am about to issue a rallying cry as I believe this is going to be Tottenham Hotspur's season. I believe we can win the Champions League. It's going to be the usual starting 11 lining up for our return to the famous competition. And as the fans begin to pack the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's going to be Lazio standing in our way of a famous 3 points. Lazio to bring the ball forward inside the opening 15 minutes, and it's Ravella inside the box. Benjamin Pavard, though, that all-important Champions League experience, getting put to work early doors as he's the one that forces a great challenge, and now we can try and escape with the ball. Kulusevski cuts inside. I'm going to try and play a ball into Heung-min Son. I do manage to play a ball into Heung-min Son. He shifts it onto his left, drives into the box and strikes. Big save from the goalkeeper. It's going to be James Maddison with the resulting corner. I'm going to look to try and float this one in. Looking for the head of Heung-min Son, and again he forces the goalkeeper into a good save. James Maddison to take his second corner of the game, and this time it is Benjamin Pavard who heads it into the back of the net. We'll look at the celebrations inside the opening 15 minutes. This game has come alive. Well, I spoke about the importance of this man's Champions League experience, and my word, it's only taken him 15 minutes to show just how important that is. He towered above the rest of the defenders to power ahead past the goalkeeper. 1-0. Bentancur to try and bring this one forward. Finds Ayala making his Champions League debut in a Spurs shirt. And he lays it off to Vlahovic, who gives it to Son. Son's going to look to try and find his way back in the box. It's off for another corner. Pavard under a bit of pressure from the Lazio press and just manages to find Pedro Porro. Beautifully done. He's been so impressive so far in the opening half an hour. Nice ball into Vlahovic. Doesn't have any other options, so instead goes to strike. It's another Spurs corner. And once again, it will be Maddison to take. Maddison looks to throw it into the penalty spot, looking for the head of Pavard again. This time it's headed away by Nuno Mendes. Bentancur to pick up the loose ball. Cleared away by Lazio. Luis Alberto to try and charge down the left-hand side as Ayala comes across to try and make the challenge. The young man making his Tottenham Hotspur Champions League debut, but he's not looking phased so far. But Isaacson down the right-hand side has managed to get away. But this time it's the experienced Christian Romero who is taken out from behind. But somehow, some way, that's not even a free kick. Into Hotspur. It's been mostly Spurs so far in this game. Neither team really able to carve out any clear-cut opportunity. Just a one-headed goal from Benjamin Pavard that separates the two teams. But it's Heung-min Son looking to make a change to that. Vlahovic going to try and feed in Kulusevski. Kulusevski, looking for the overlapping run of Pedro Porro. It was well defended as the referee blows for half-time. Kulusevski into Hotspur. Hotspur going to look to try and beat the Lazio press, and look at the drive forward from Hotspur, and he's found Kulusevski, but he's just found him offside. Ravella for Lazio finds Luis Alberto. He goes back to Romagnoli in the heart of the defence. Out wide to the former Spurs man, Steven Bergwijn, who seemingly has come on as a sub. Back into Castellanos, and that is a fantastic strike, but it's just wide. And just after that, Kulusevski's going to come off, and Takefusa Kubo's going to come on to make his Tottenham Hotspur Champions League debut. Ayala to bring it out of defence once again. Out wide to Heung-min Son on the left-hand side. Bentancur trying to find a ball back to Ayala. It wasn't the right one. Well intercepted by the Lazio defence, and now they can try and escape with the ball. But it's well challenged from Ayala. He's done a brilliant job there, and he plays it into Bentancur, into Maddison now. Maddison straight against the goalkeeper. It's a big let-off for Lazio. Kamada now for Lazio to drive through the heart of our midfield, but he's well challenged by Hotspur. Takefusa Kubo with his first real touch into Pedro Porro. Back out to Hotspur. Hotspur's going to look for the return ball to Pedro Porro. He does find him. I'm trying to look for options. Pedro Porro continues his run down the right-hand side and fires it in. I was looking for Vlahovic. The keeper got there first. Ravella into Kamada. Only 15 minutes remaining on this game, and both teams are going head to head here to try and either put the game to bed or to bring themselves back in the game. And it's Pavard again with a wonderful piece of defending. So far for me, he has been the man of the match. Sensational at both ends of the pitch, as we are now going to try and look to escape with the ball. James Maddison's just held up and the counter-attack is stopped. Ayala here to bring it down the left-hand side. Finds Heung-min Son. Nice ball. Heung-min Son finds a reverse pass into Vlahovic. Shifts it onto his right and he's just tackled at the right time. Luis Alberto fires a wonderful ball across, headed away by Pedro Porro. Only out as far as Dusan Vlahovic, but we can now try and bring the ball away. It's Bentancur is the most advanced Tottenham player. He's going to try and see if he can find a ball out to Brennan Johnson, who's come on as a sub. He cuts back into Basuma, but the referee blows the whistle. It is full time in the Champions League. The players celebrate as they know that is a priceless 3 points in our opening Champions League game. Benjamin Pavard will definitely take the plaudits. It was his solitary goal that was the difference today between the two teams. As the Spurs fans fly the Tottenham flag high as at full time it finishes here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs 1, Lazio 0. And he is a man who'll be absolutely delighted with his performance here today. It's his first goal of the season, and what a time to score it. And it means we start off our Champions League campaign by going straight to the top of the group. However, with us heading back to the Premier League with our next game up against a struggling Newcastle United side who find themselves in the relegation zone, it is time to see whether or not we can add to their woes here today as we welcome them to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The extra European matches allow us to have a little bit more flexibility with our starting 11, and as you can see, there are several changes. The likes of Tapsoba, Mickey van der Ven, Ryan Sessegnon all coming in, as well as Brian Hill, Brennan Johnson, and also Alea Veliz starting up front. Kraft on the right-hand side for Newcastle, into Frazier as Newcastle look to strike first, and Alexander Isak with a great volley. Another big save from Vicario. Looks like it's going to be Harvey Barnes with the corner, as it's been all Newcastle so far in this opening 15 minutes. They fire it back into the box, headed away by Mickey van der Ven, only as far as Ronaldo, who fires it into Hermoso. He strikes. It's well blocked by the Tottenham defence, but we seem to be a little bit all over the place at the moment. Perhaps all of the changes aren't exactly clicking straight away. Ronaldo with the throw. Harvey Barnes. Ronaldo gets it back from him. Harvey Barnes has it again. Newcastle threatening here. They definitely look the most dangerous, looking to try and yank themselves out of this relegation battle that somehow they find themselves in. And they have penned us in here, and we can't seem to be able to get ourselves out of our own penalty area. It's Ronaldo here, into Harvey Barnes. He's looking to try and get into the box, and out goes to Taylor. Into Koopmeyers. He strikes. Vicario's on hand to save our blushes again. We cannot seem to get rid of the ball here. Alexander Isak tussling with Ryan Sessegnon. It comes out to Kraft. He fires it back in and taps over with a diving header for a Newcastle corner. However, fortunately enough for me, it is offside and we just about get away with one. Taylor into Alexander Isak. The pressure is relentless here from Newcastle. Wonderful ball into Harvey Barnes. Gives it back into Aymar. Vicario again with his third big save. It's another Newcastle corner. It's another one they're going to go short for. Aymar throws it into the box. Vicario saves this time with his feet. And Ryan Sessegnon can do nothing but just boot the ball clear. Taps over to try and bring it forward into Kulusevski. This is the first time we've properly been able to venture into the Newcastle half. And if he can find an option at the back post, in Brennan Johnson he can. And Brennan Johnson from absolutely nothing fires us into an undeserved 1-0 lead. Well, that all came from a wonderful counter-attack and some wonderful work from Kulusevski. He found an unmarked Brennan Johnson at the back post. And it's a fantastic volley with his weaker left foot to give us a 1-0 lead here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Into Brian Hill, who's been largely a peripheral figure so far in this game, but he's looked to come deep to get himself involved, and he's done just that. Taps over now, over to Pedro Porro. We've got to look to try and put together a sustained period of possession here as we try and beat this Newcastle press, and Brian Hill has done a wonderful job of doing so. Fires it into Veliz, who tries to hit it with his left and gets it all wrong. Into Ronaldo. He goes out to Harvey Barnes. Well challenged though by Pedro Porro, but it's given away cheaply here as Newcastle, with their tails up, desperately searching for an equaliser. Can they find it with just 20 minutes remaining on the clock? Ronaldo now on the left-hand side. Finds Harvey Barnes again. He goes infield to Taylor. Into Alexander Isak. Newcastle turning up the pressure here. Ronaldo down the left-hand side. Fires it across. Headed well away by Tapsoba. Can Bentancur get it? He's calm. He's composed. And he gives it to Højbjerg. And now Takefusa Kubo can bring this forward for Spurs. Well blocked by Leo Veliz. And now Kubo continues his run down the right-hand side. Can he find a ball back into Veliz? No, he can't. Good defending from Newcastle in the end. Harvey Barnes down the left-hand side. Goes past Tapsoba. He's got the pace to drive away from him here. Fires the ball into the box. It's brilliant from Newcastle. It's a deserved equaliser. Well, it was Harvey Barnes with the pace and power to get away from Tapsoba, and he found an unmarked Aymar just on the edge of the penalty spot. And with that beautiful volley, he sent the travelling Newcastle fans into raptures and got them back on level terms. It's 1-1 here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Mickey van der Ven into Bentancur. We've got about 5 minutes on the clock here to see if we can find a winner. Brennan Johnson into Brian Hill. Couldn't find him though. And now Newcastle can break. And they have looked dangerous all game and they continue to look dangerous. Fraser now on the right hand side into Aymar. Fraser goes inside this time. Ryan Sessegnon's going to try and challenge. He cannot win the ball. We just can't seem to get it off Newcastle, but eventually Ryan Sessegnon does. And now Brennan Johnson can break. End-to-end stuff here, and look at the space he's got. Can he try and feed a ball into Brian Hill? Yes, he can. Brian Hill to bring it forward. Brian Hill under pressure. Brian Hill strikes. We could have played a ball across, he didn't. But with 94 minutes on the clock, it is Bentancur with the corner. I'm going to try and fire it into the penalty spot, looking for the header. Brennan Johnson doesn't find him. Højbjerg will pick up the loose ball. Back out to Bentancur, throws it back in one last time. No one is there, but Pedro Porro is there. What on earth were the Newcastle defence doing? Well, Pedro Porro sends the Spurs fans absolutely wild in the 95th minute of the game. Somehow, some way, we have found a way to claim a victory and claim 3 points at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It was a cross-in from Bentancur and it was a lapse in concentration from the Newcastle defenders, and Pedro Porro was on it. He was on the loose ball in a flash, and it was a fantastic volley past the goalkeeper from close range. He had no chance whatsoever, and he has gone and won the game for us in stoppage time. Eddie Howe cannot believe it. He shakes his head in disapproval. He is in complete and utter shock. That man Pedro Porro will take the plaudits, and rightly so. What a brilliant way to end the game, and what a brilliant way to get your first goal of the season. Full time here. It is 2-1 Spurs. A dramatic late goal is certainly one way to put it, as it keeps our unbeaten start in the Premier League this season alive. With a much rotated starting 11, it just goes to show how important some of these substitutes and reserves are, and actually just how good our squad is overall. And with Brian Hill really showing us what he can offer with some moments of brilliance in that game, it looks like his training is completed, as he is now officially a central attacking midfielder. And we'll certainly be hoping that he can put more pressure on this man James Maddison this season to try and claim his spot in our starting 11. But as we roll on into October, we are brought crashing back down to earth, having been knocked out in the third round of the Carabao Cup, courtesy of a 5-4 penalty loss against Burton Albion. And whilst that cup exit hasn't had a negative impact on our current status with the board, it has made me realise just how sky high the expectations are this season, as they are expecting us not only to win the Premier League and win the FA Cup, but complete a historic treble by winning the Champions League as well. And so my word, if I want to do this, I think I'm going to have to put this £239 million budget to good use in January. However, with our morale still high and our form still going strong in the Premier League, I am incredibly keen to keep the momentum going, and that means we are heading to Goodison Park for another game back in the Premier League as we look to extend our unbeaten run against Everton. A wonderful ball into the path of Beto, who's got the beating of Romero here, and he drives into the box and he's just going to dink this over Vicario, and what a stunning goal that is. Well, my word, what a way to start in front of the home crowd. We were caught napping, and look at that, Vicario ended up in no man's land, and Romero didn't have the pace to track back. A beautiful chip finish by Beto. And inside the opening 10 minutes, it is 1-0 Everton. Into Bentancur. Bentancur's going to try and find a ball into Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son looks for Bentancur again. He finds Ayala. Ayala back across to Maddison. Oh, big block from Tarkowski. Maddison with the resulting corner, going to fire it in, looking for the header. Kulusevski. It's off the bar. Can we get the resulting ball back? It's Benjamin Pavard with the volley, and he just couldn't get it into the back of the net. It was a brilliant save by Pickford in the end. Bentancur into James Maddison. Well, you can't say that we haven't responded well here, as Pedro Porro finds himself up high. Into Maddison again, and this time he tries to strike again. And once again, it is cleared by the Everton defence. Into Heung-min Son. Son into Maddison. Maddison is the danger man so far, and Pickford is forced into another save. Going to be another corner that the Englishman's going to take. This time he fires it into the head of Heung-min Son. Headed away only as far as Bentancur. Maddison gets it back. Back to Bentancur. Into Heung-min Son. He strikes with his left. Blocked again by the Everton defenders. Only out as far as Kulusevski. Son again. And it again will go out for another Spurs corner. Maddison looks to fire it in again to Heung-min Son. And this time we get the header right, and we get ourselves back on level terms. Well, we have absolutely bombarded the Everton goal since we conceded. And it's Heung-min Son, our captain, the man with the new contract, who has come to our rescue. A wonderful looping header over Pickford. 1-1. Decore now for Everton as they look to strike back, having conceded one. Into Ghana. Over to Golovin on the left-hand side. Goes past Pedro Porro. Amoraoui into the box. Into Beto, the goal scorer. It's well defended. Hojbjerg now into Bentancur. Can we try and hit them on the counter-attack? Bentancur brings it across to the left-hand side. Going to try and find a ball into Vlahovic. He's come deep. I'm going to try and look for the overlapping run of Pedro Porro. He now looks into Kulusevski. He shifts it onto his left. Went to strike from the outside of the box. It was poor in the end. McKennie, well challenged by Heung-min Son. Vlahovic has come deep into Bentancur. Bentancur finds himself heavily involved so far, and he finds Heung-min Son on the left-hand side. Heung-min Son's got options. Instead, Heung-min Son goes to Ayala. Perhaps that wasn't the best option, but Ayala into James Maddison. Can he find a ball into Vlahovic? Vlahovic strikes. Vlahovic gets us into the lead. Well, right on the stroke of half time, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club have turned this game on its head. Ayala and Maddison yet to get involved, and this time it's Dusan Vlahovic, our brand new number 9, who is on hand to apply the finishing touches. A wonderful curve finished past Jordan Pickford, and it is 2-1 Tottenham Hotspur. Hojbjerg into Bentancur. It's been everywhere, both in the first and second half. Ayala finds Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son to strike. Well blocked. Ayala dancing away from the challenge of the Everton midfield. Finds Heung-min Son, who finds Bentancur. Bentancur for an audacious ball across to Kulusevski. Brilliantly taken down by the Swede. Can he keep hold of it? No, he can't. Good defending. Ball over the top looking for Beto. Nicely done, but Pedro Porro will pick up the scraps and try and bring the ball forward. Nice ball into Kulusevski, who's taken that one really well. And he finds Dusan Vlahovic, who's isolated and well challenged by Tarkowski as Everton now look to try and get a foothold back into this game and somehow get themselves back on level terms. Decore with a nice turn into McKennie, into the goal scorer Beto, and he's got the pace again to drive away from the defence. And a second time, he chipped Vicario, and it's a second goal for him and for Everton. Well, my word, perhaps he's found our Achilles heel. I don't quite know, but he's got the pace to drive away from both Romero and Pavard. And Vicario yet again found in no man's land. It's 2 chips for the price of 1. Absolutely sensational goal. Everton back on level terms. Ayala to bring the ball out of defence. Finds Heung-min Son on the left-hand side. He cuts in field looking for the run of Vlahovic. Vlahovic turns, feeds in. Maddison! What a save. And of course it will be James Maddison who will take the resulting corner. And he fires it in again looking for the head of Heung-min Son. It worked in the first half. Unfortunately, didn't work in the second. Maddison again with the ball. Looks for Hojbjerg on the edge of the box. Hojbjerg gives it back to Maddison. Maddison into Hojbjerg again. I was looking for Kubo. Couldn't find the right pass. And Everton get it clear. Pedro Porro being overrun there by Golovin as he goes into the box. Romero, though, with a big challenge. Can we try and bring this ball clear? Less than 5 minutes remaining on the clock for one of these two teams to try and grab a winner. It is Vlahovic into Maddison. Maddison's going to try and feed in Heung-min Son down the left-hand side. And Heung-min Son drives into the box. Heung-min Son with his left. Oh my word. It is Captain Fantastic. Heung-min Son with the winner in stoppage time. Well, can you believe it? It is back-to-back winners in stoppage time. Heung-min Son drove into the box and he was almost challenged, but it was just too quick for the Everton defenders. And what a strike with his left foot. Look at the celebrations. It is 3-2 Spurs. And Jordan Pickford, he just cannot believe his eyes. He thought he'd done enough. But the quality of this man, Heung-min Son, was just too much to overcome. Full time here at Goodison Park, Everton 2, Spurs 3. Well, that winner just goes to show some of the heart and character that this team is showing this season. And it's another win that's good enough to bring us on level points with Arsenal and Liverpool above us as the title race begins to heat up. And Heung-min Son has answered some question marks surrounding his long-term future at the club. 4 goals in 5 Premier League appearances and 8.02 overall rating. What a start to the season for our South Korean captain. And after absolutely smashing Young Boys 4-0 away from home in the Champions League, with Takefusa Kubo getting his first goal in Tottenham colours and Aleo Veliz getting on the score sheet twice, we have extended our lead at the top of our group. However, it is now time for what is likely to be our toughest game of the season so far. A fierce title fight is about to heat up as we welcome Liverpool to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Heung-min Son tried to find Vlahovic, couldn't find him, and Liverpool start off this game on fire as they look to bring the ball forward, but Pedro Porro wins it high and now gives it to James Maddison, who finds Kulusevski, who has found Pedro Porro in acres of space. Porro was going to try and play it across to Vlahovic. He just took one touch too many, and now Liverpool can break. End-to-end stuff here already inside the opening 10 minutes as both of these two teams are going to look to try and get one over on the other. And Gakpo is the first man to lay a punch as it's a wonderful finish to put Liverpool 1-0 up. Look at this, got in between my two defenders and left Vicario with absolutely no chance whatsoever. It's Liverpool 1, Spurs 0. Endo for Liverpool. Tries to go past Ayala, does go past Ayala, and continues to try and find a ball into the box, but it's well recovered by Ayala, stopping that ball from going in. Gertruda to Gakpo. Gakpo into the penalty area, goes past my defenders, into McAllister. Oh, it's 2-0 Liverpool. Well, has the pressure got to us as we are completely falling apart here? Liverpool are showing their Premier League title race experience as they take a much-deserved 2-0 lead inside the opening 20 minutes. Romero to try and bring the ball out of defence and try and force Liverpool's hand and try and get something up and running here, but he gives the ball away cheaply. And again now it is 3-on-4 here as we frantically try and get bodies back, and it's a wonderful ball into the path of Mo Salah, who's caught our defence cold. Can Benjamin Pavard come across? He can, but Mo Salah still managed to have the ball, and eventually enough Benjamin Pavard is able to do enough to get the ball clear. Vlahovic, given away cheaply again. This Liverpool press is just too much for us to deal with at the moment. We just cannot seem to beat it. McAllister now tussling with Hojbjerg. He still has the ball. McAllister looking for an option in the centre of the park. Instead, he manages to wriggle away from the challenge of Pedro Porro. It's Cody Gakpo, again held up. And again, we just cannot seem to get our foot on this ball. But James Maddison turns away from a challenge. And now Vlahovic can try and release a ball into Kulusevski. I'm going to look for the overlapping run of Pedro Porro. It's given away again. Heung-min Son at the start of the second half. James Maddison wins it into Vlahovic. I'm going to try and look for the run of Pedro Porro. Eventually I do, but he doesn't have any options in the centre of the park because Vlahovic was the one who played the ball to him. Vlahovic gets it back, looks for Maddison, instead finds Kulusevski. It's another big chance wasted into the goal scorer Gakpo, and he drives past Hojbjerg, gives it to Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz back to Gakpo, lovely stuff from Liverpool, past Ayala, into the box, back into Mo Salah, into Luis Diaz. It's Benjamin Pavard who can't do enough to stop Luis Diaz getting Liverpool's third goal of the game. Well, they are running riot here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and this is in danger of turning into an absolute rout. Vicario dived at the first shot and it was blocked by Pavard and wasn't up in time for the second, so he was able just to pass it into an empty net. It is Liverpool 3, Tottenham 0. Romero, again under pressure from this Liverpool press. We just cannot seem to beat it here. Man for man, they're just everywhere. We just can't stop them. But eventually Bentancur wins it. Into Heung-min Son. Where on earth are the options here? I'm looking for Ayala. I've just got no one. I can't find anyone unmarked. It's James Maddison who ends up getting the ball intercepted. And now again Liverpool can break. Pavard to try and bring the ball out of defence. What can we do here? Nice pass into Vlahovic, into Pedro Porro, who's managed to stay on side, and Pedro Porro puts it wide. Brennan Johnson on as a sub to try and see if he can inject some much needed energy into this midfield. It is Vlahovic who picks it up. And again, just too many Liverpool bodies in front of us. We just cannot seem to pull any sort of passes together, put any sort of pressure together. And as soon as we get the ball, Liverpool take it off us immediately. Robertson being chased down by the substitute Cubo, but he's got the pace to get away from him. And Pedro Porro was in no man's land. He just stayed still, didn't do anything. Ball across, off the bar. Should have been 4-0 from Darwin Núñez. We got away with one. Brennan Johnson into James Maddison. James Maddison finds Ayala, who's still marauding down this left-hand side, into Vlahovic, given away cheaply. And that is the story of this game. Well, Benjamin Pavard cannot believe what he has seen today. We completely fell apart at the hands of a rampant Liverpool display. Full time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Spurs 0, Liverpool 3. I have to admit, while it was Diaz's goal that sealed the defeat, I think it was the opening two goals that really put the nail in the coffin for us. We showed our inexperience fighting at the top end of the Premier League table as Liverpool now take charge and they go top. And with the board's objectives being absolutely sky high this season, we've got to pull ourselves together if we want to achieve big things. But with us just being a couple of months away from the start of the January transfer window, and with us having £239 million to spend, let me know down in the comments below where you think we need to improve. That's it for today's episode. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Tottenham have returned to the Champions League and have started with aplomb, topping the group in our first two games. We showed our lack of title fight experience against Liverpool though, as they hit 3 goals past us to halt our momentum in the league. And today, with big expectations from the board and big money to spend, I use your help to try and invigorate this squad. As ever, if you're enjoying this series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get into today's episode. And as always, we are starting off with your comments. With Son soon to retire, you should sign Kang In Lee, a Korean national. And for central defensive midfield, Giorgio Schiavini is a nice young prospect. or Coop Miners. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure if Heung-min Son is quite at retirement age just yet, as he is only 32 and he's still our club captain. Plus, if his exploits from last episode are anything to go by, he still has a hell of a lot that he can offer the club. However, to replace him with a fellow Korean in Lee Kang-in on the left-hand side would be a very interesting option, as he's 23 years of age and he seems like he has all of the right attributes to be a good fit on that side of my midfield. However, with him playing for PSG at the moment, would he want to make the swap to London right now? Giorgio Scalvini is another brilliant option. With him being 20 years of age, he's got his best years ahead of him. But again, with him now being touted at centre-back, plus him playing for Real Madrid, would he really want to move to Spurs? Now, Coop Miners is the one that really catches my eye. With him being 26 years of age, he's clearly entering his prime. Plus the fact he's playing for Newcastle shows that he does have Premier League experience he can offer us. However, in real life, moving from Newcastle to Spurs right now is probably an option he wouldn't really want to take. However, in this career mode, with Newcastle languishing right above the relegation zone in 17th place, perhaps it might be a move that the Dutchman might consider. I think it would be best if you improved the left-back position, as Sessegnon is slow and does not recover quick. I didn't imagine you'd sell Udogie though, as he was potentially your best left-back. So yeah, I agree. Looking at my starting 11, it is clear and obvious that left-back is the weakest position in the squad. And with Ryan Sessegnon constantly in and out of the team in real life for Spurs, picking up injury after injury after injury, and with him now being 24 years of age, only 78 rated, and only having 8 months left on his contract, perhaps now is the time to look to move the Englishman on, so I will decide to add him to the transfer list. As for Udogie, after a brilliant season at Spurs last season, he was someone I definitely did not want to sell, but for whatever reason, he wanted to leave the club, and I guess when Barcelona come in for you, it is no surprise to see that his head got turned, and that is unfortunately why I had to sell the young man. I think you should keep Ayala, as a team like Liverpool have done the same in the past with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and maybe try to send some scouts out to find the next Harry Kane, whether that be in the youth or players just playing for younger, smaller clubs. And to replace Basuma, you could go for João Paulinho, Mourinho or Hatate, as they would be perfect, or maybe Edson Alvarez if he has surpassed his time at West Ham. So yeah, starting off with that left-back position again, obviously it is the weakest position in my team, but Sergio Ayala is someone who I really want to give an opportunity to this season. He's only 18 years of age, clearly he's an exciting prospect, and he's already got himself up to a 70 rating, and his performances in all of the competitions overall so far have actually been pretty decent, considering this is his first season properly playing in the senior squad. Now, there can be no doubt that losing Harry Kane to Bayern Munich was a bitter pill to swallow for most of the Spurs fans, and the Englishman is pretty much nigh on irreplaceable. However, looking a little bit closer to home at the likes of Aleo Veliz and Dane Scarlett, I actually think we've got some pretty decent young and up-and-coming attacking talent who could well feature for us in the long term. I did mention last episode though, with me neglecting my youth academy over the last season or two, perhaps I do need to start trying to look for some more up-and-coming talent across the globe, and that is something that I will get to later on in this episode. As for Yves Bissouma, I was so disappointed when Manchester City were able to trigger his release clause and he refused to then go and sign a new contract with me. He's been brilliant for the club in real life, and unfortunately on this career mode he hasn't really had the opportunity to feature that heavily because he's just been displaced by this man Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in the starting 11. However, with us having European football this season and far more games to play, I was hoping that would be enough to encourage him to stay at the club, but clearly it still wasn't enough. And so looking at some of these options, the likes of João Paulinho certainly looks like he would be ready to take the next step in his career, moving from Fulham to a team playing in European football. And whilst West Ham might not want to do business with us, I'm sure Edson Alvarez again would also be keen to make the next step up to play in Europe. It might be a bit of a difficult shout to try and prize Mikel Mourinho out of PSG, but Rio Hatate would certainly be another one who'd be keen to join Tottenham, and also, as he was linked in real life, would definitely be a realistic option as well. And with only a couple of months remaining until the January transfer window reopens, with £239 million still left to spend, stay tuned because we're certainly going to be looking to make some upgrades to this squad later on in the episode. And finally, I think you should send a scout to South Korea to try and find the next Heung-min Son. Yeah, so I touched upon this earlier and I also mentioned it several times last episode that I've kind of neglected my youth academy a little bit, meaning that I definitely need to try and set up some scouting networks with my 3 scouts. So taking on board what you said, the first things first, I'm going to send my first scout to Asia more specifically to South Korea, to try and see if he can find the next Heung-min Son. I did have a comment that suggested perhaps sending a scout to Hungary, considering the rich history that the country has in world football. And so of course that will be where I'm going to be sending my second scout today. And finally, with me still wanting to find the best local talent, and with me obviously still wanting to uncover the very next Harry Kane, of course England will be the third and final country that I plan to scout. So these are the three main areas that I'm going to be sending my scouts, but you're going to have to wait until next episode to see what sort of players they uncover. In other news, with Ryan Sessegnon finally happy to be put out of his misery at Tottenham Hotspur and to finally be put on the transfer list, perhaps to the surprise of many, Chelsea have once again decided to come in for one of my reserve players, this time offering £14 million for the young Englishman. And it's a deal that Sessegnon is more than happy to accept, as he will depart to Chelsea in January. But perhaps in even stranger news, after years of failure at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, Manchester United have decided to come in with an offer of £16 million for Tanguy Ndombele. And of course that's a deal that both the club and he are more than happy to accept, and sees him join the Manchester Giants in January as well. Two players who the club in real life have really struggled to get rid of, and two players with only 8 months left on their contracts. An extra £30 million added to the transfer budget, and over 100 grand a week saved on wages. I think Tottenham Hotspur Football Club are laughing all the way to the bank. However, Ryan Sessegnon's imminent departure from the club leaves Sergio Ayala as the one and only left back at the club. A huge amount of pressure to put on such a young man's shoulders. And with the likes of Pep Matassar on loan at Brentford, the Frenchman Tanguy Ndombele and Yves Bissouma leaving the club in January, it also means that we're pretty light in central midfield as well. So get ready, because as soon as we hit this January transfer window, we are going to be getting this massive checkbook out. However, after suffering bitter disappointment in the league, having been crushed by Liverpool 3-0 to end our unbeaten run, we've now dropped down to third place in the Premier League and are looking over our shoulder at Manchester City instead of looking up, which makes it even more important that we get back to winning ways against Nottingham Forest. Unfortunately enough, Heung-min Son continues his fine vein of form, as his single goal is the only one that separates the two teams, a 1-0 win away from home. And another confident away victory and clean sheet, this time 3-0 against Feyenoord in the Champions League, gets us right back on track and puts us in a commanding position in our group. And with us now sitting in second place in the Premier League table, being chased down by two London rivals in West Ham and Arsenal, it is going to be one of those teams in West Ham whom we're going to welcome to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in a match that potentially could have huge ramifications to the Premier League title race. As you can see, it is my usual starting 11 that do start against West Ham. The only change really is with my desperation to try and find a place for Mickey van der Ven, as he is performing so well in real life. I have put him back into my starting 11, which means unfortunately Benjamin Pavard can't even find a place on the bench. Out to Kulusevski. Kulusevski is going to try and drift back in on his left-hand side. And he drifts the ball back into Bentancur. He finds Ayala. Ayala looks for a nice run into Heung-min Son. He's got the footwork almost to get away from the defender, but it is challenged, and West Ham can now try and hit us on the counter-attack. Andre Silva to try and bring it forward for them. Well intercepted though by Ayala, and it's a double tackle. Brilliant play there from the young Argentinian. Jared Bowen in the right hand side trying to find a ball into the box. Does nice work to try and get away from the challenge of Romero. Out to Kufal. Into Andre Silva, who strikes. Big stop from Vicario. Going to be another West Ham corner here that Jared Bowen is going to take, and he's going to whip it in this time looking for the near post. Headed away by Kulusevski. Only out as far as Jared Bowen again. West Ham have started this game far better than we have. Paquetá on the edge of the box, shaping up to strike. He does strike. This time it's Pedro Porro with a good interception, and we try and get the ball away. Maddison to feed in Kulusevski down the right hand side, cuts back in looking for the pass into Vlahovic. Vlahovic is looking for options. He looked for an option of Ayala on the left hand side. First time ball in, straight into the arms of the goalkeeper, Heung-min Son. Bentancur almost tries to take out Florentino Luis. Into Cornet down the right hand side. He's going to try and go past Pedro Porro. Instead plays a ball into Lucas Paquetá. He's held up by Christian Romero. Luis though continues his run in the box, gets away from Romero, and this time it's Alvarez who puts it wide. Pedro Porro feeds in Kulusevski. Nicely done, but can't get away from the left back though. Chasing down, but the West Ham midfield are just too strong for the Swede, and they go again. As I said, out of the two teams, it is looking like it's going to be West Ham who are going to break the deadlock first, as Cornet brings this forward. Well challenged though by Kulusevski, looking to make amends, but he doesn't make amends. Cornet still has it. This time it's Romero. Alvarez trying to get past him. Great challenge from our vice-captain. Well, there's nothing to separate the two teams at the start of the second half. It's been a tight and cagey affair in the first 45 minutes. Can one of these two teams find the breakthrough to put themselves in a commanding position in the fight for the Premier League title. Bentancur into James Maddison, who hasn't really been too involved so far, as Mickey van der Ven just manages to wriggle away from a challenge of a West Ham attacker. Out to Ayala on the right hand side, doesn't have too many options. Instead, I'm going to try and find a ball to Vlahovic. It was a nice ball to Vlahovic, and he does a good job trying to find James Maddison. Not good enough though. Paquetá for West Ham, dancing around the challenge of Romero, and Cornet forces Vicario into a big save. It's going to be another West Ham corner. It looks like it's going to be another one that Jarrod Bowen is going to throw into the 6-yard box. He does, and this time Andre Silva gets ahead of my two defenders and powers ahead past Vicario to give West Ham a 1-0 lead. It was a brilliant cross from Jarrod Bowen, and it was a brilliant towering header. He got ahead of Ayala at the back post. The young Argentinian was having such a good game, but his height was his disadvantage, and he was beaten at the back post by a brilliant, powerful header as West Ham lead 1-0. Into Brennan Johnson, who's come on as a sub to try and spark some life into this Tottenham team. James Maddison can't get there, and it's kind of been the story of the game here. We've been poor all over the pitch. Hojbjerg, though, to win it back high. Into Kubo, who's also come on as a sub. He tries to feed in Vlahovic. Vlahovic can't feed the ball into James Maddison. It's even better defending from West Ham once again. Kudos for West Ham. Tries to go past Pedro Porro. He does go past Pedro Porro, and he streaks down this left-hand side here. Pedro Porro can't keep up with him, neither can Romero. And it's a poor ball in the end that makes it easy for Vicario. Brennan Johnson into James Maddison. James Maddison fires a ball over to Kubo on the right-hand side. Really nicely done. He takes it down well. Into Vlahovic. Vlahovic into Brennan Johnson, who tries to strike against the West Ham defenders. Kudos trying to go one-on-one with Pedro Porro again. And once again, he's got his number. He's able to go past him. He tries to go into the box. Mickey van der Ven can't challenge him. It is absolutely sensational. Well, in our efforts to press high, we were caught cold at the back again. And he just had the pace to get away from both Pedro Porro and Mickey van der Ven, whose challenge at the end just wasn't strong enough. And Vicario was left with no chance. 2-0 West Ham. Hojbjerg into James Maddison. James Maddison to try his luck from distance, and in the end goes straight into the arms of the goalkeeper. Well, the last time we played at home in front of the Tottenham fans, we put on a dismal display against Liverpool, and it turns out we've done exactly the same thing this time against our arch London rivals West Ham. And at full time here it finishes Spurs 0, West Ham 2. And of course now I've got the press on my back, wondering what on earth was going on, especially it's even worse by the fact that we got beaten by our arch rivals West Ham. Perhaps we just lacked a little bit of self-belief, or perhaps we just don't have the experience that is necessary to fight at the top table of the Premier League right now. A disappointing result, and one that drags us right out of even the Champions League spaces, as we've now dropped down to 5th place in the Premier League. And a real tough afternoon for Sergio Ayala perhaps does indicate that we might need some additional experience on the left-hand side of our defence after all. Before we're able to bring someone else in though, we've got the small matter of quite a few games still remaining in our calendar. However, after what can only be described as a series of stuttering Premier League performances, we have seen ourselves tumble down the table all the way to 7th place after 13 games played, with Liverpool now being able to stretch out a 7-point lead at the top of the table. And to make matters worse, in my desperation to try and include Mickey van der Ven in my starting 11 a little bit more often, which by the way he seems absolutely delighted with, it is to the detriment to the career of Edmund Tapsoba. Absolutely furious, he is now demanding a transfer away, claiming that I'm damaging his career. And with the young man now submitting a transfer request, surely it's only a matter of time before he departs the club. The problem is, with the likes of Benjamin Pavard and Christian Romero still performing admirably at the back, and my desperation to try and get Mickey van der Ven back into the starting 11, there just hasn't really been a place for Edmund Tapsoba, and it is really unfortunate that it's had to come to this in the end. However, going back to the football, and with an opportunity to clinch top spot in our Champions League group, we are heading over to Italy, more specifically to Lazio, to claim 3 points and to confirm our position in the knockout rounds of the Champions League. And for me, it's a wonderful opportunity to switch up the starting 11 and finally give an opportunity to a lot of those players in reserve who are desperate to try and make an impression. Can they do it today? Time will tell. Sessegnon with the throw into Brennan Johnson, who skips away from 2 challenges. He's done a really good job here, and he drives into the centre. He picks up Brian Hill on the left-hand side. Has he managed to stay on side? No, he hasn't. Into Ryan Sessegnon. Perhaps this might be one of the few and final times that we see that young man in a Spurs shirt, as Brian Hill skips away from about 3 or 4 challenges there. Does brilliantly in the centre of the park, and it's now Kubo on the right-hand side who picks it up. Drives into the penalty area, trying to find a ball back in. It's well defended. Lazio looking to bring this one out of defence, and that's a wonderful midfield splitting pass. And what a challenge from Emerson Royale. Aleo Veliz, who's come deep to try and get involved in the play. He finds Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson to try and ding it back over into the path of Brian Hill, but Veliz will pick up the scraps and tries to strike, sends it wide. Into Luis Alberto for Lazio here. Costalanos now out to Kamada, well challenged by the soon-to-be departed Yves Bissouma. Tackle for Kubo though to bring it forward into Brian Hill, who's been heavily involved so far, and he's skipping away from 2 challenges, 3 challenges. Wonderful stuff from the Spaniard. Into Brennan Johnson. He's looking for options, turns and finds Ryan Sessegnon. Ryan Sessegnon to look for Leo Veliz. It's just so crowded in the penalty area, but Eliz does a brilliant job, and Eliz just puts it wide. A brilliant move and a brilliant opportunity for the young Argentinian, and he really should have put it in the back of the net. Into Oliver Skipp, who's been fairly quiet across this entire career mode, to be fair, and he'll desperately be searching for his opportunity to try and stake his claim in the starting 11 as Brian Hill brings it forward and fires a great strike against the goalkeeper, but it's well saved. It'll be Kubo to take the resulting corner, though. He's going to fire it into the edge of the box, looking for Brennan Johnson. Is headed away by Steven Bergwijn, though. Brian Hill's going to try and win the reverse ball. Doesn't. Cleared by Lazio. Nice ball into the path of Castellanos, and he's got round the back of Mickey van der Ven. Well out by Vicario. Tries to find Kubo. Does find Kubo, who then insists on giving the ball away. And now Lazio can try and break, and it's a nice turn and pass into Kamada. Castellanos now has it again. Kamada, nice 1-2 between the two of them. He's going to try and go past Emerson Royale. Can't. Nuno Mendes will have a chance, though. He gives it to Steven Bergwijn. Oh, how much he would love to score against his former club that he didn't quite make the grade against. It's smashed against my defence. Lazio continue to bring it forward. This time it's Mickey van der Ven with a great interception, and now we can bring the ball forward. Van der Ven. Oh, that's a wonderful ball. Can he find Kubo with the pace? But Nuno Mendes has the recovery pace. Great defending from the left back. He almost gets himself in trouble, though, as Leo Veliz was hunting him down, but he just couldn't do it. Good defending in the end from Nuno Mendes. Tapsoba under a lot of pressure here by 2 Lazio strikers. It's a high press, and it's given away cheaply by Tapsoba. Can he try and win it back from Isakson? He can. Good defending in the end from the young man. And now Brennan Johnson into the path of Oliver Skipp. Oliver Skipp to try and bring it forward. He finds in Ryan Sessegnon down the left-hand side. Sessegnon to drive forward. Can he find a ball in? No, he can't. Neither team able to break the deadlock here with 10 minutes remaining. Kubo's going to fire a ball into the box. Look at Brennan Johnson. Big save. It's another corner, and it's another one that Kubo is going to throw right into the penalty box. Into Leo Veliz this time. It's cleared off the line. Tapsoba with the rebound, and Tapsoba finally gets the goal, the all-important and all-deserved goal for Tottenham Hotspur. Well, the man who's been recently demanding a transfer is the man who gets the single and solitary goal here. Perhaps this is a little reminder of what he can offer us, and perhaps a reminder of what we've been missing so far this season. It's a strong head. It's 1-0. Out to Emerson Royale on the right-hand side. I'm going to try and play a ball into Leo Veliz. Takes it really nicely. Looks for Kubo on the right-hand side. Have the Lazio heads dropped here as Kubo. He's got an option of Brennan Johnson at the far post if he can find him. No, he can't. And in the end, it's headed away by the Lazio defence as the referee blows for full time. While the Spurs fans go wild, they know what that means. It secures our qualification to the knockout round of the Champions League. It was a hard-fought victory, but a victory nonetheless, with that man's goal being the only one to separate the two teams. As at full time here, it finishes Lazio 0, Spurs 1. And with the board breathing down my neck, demanding Champions League success this season, to simply get out of the group stage with relative ease is a massive weight lifted off my shoulders. The biggest talking point for me, though, has to be the performance of this man, Edmund Tapsoba. As I said, he hasn't really featured too much for me this season, but an impressive run of games in the Champions League and an impressive defensive performance has helped us get through to the next round. Even though he has submitted a transfer request, I'm actually quite hesitant to sell him. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you think I should do with this young man? Should I keep him at the club against his will, or should I just cut ties and get rid of him and try and bring someone else in? And if I do, who should be the centre-back to replace him? Let me know down below what you think. And I'm hoping we can take the momentum from the Champions League back into the Premier League to do something about this terrible position we find ourselves in. And after beating Wolves 3-1 away from home, it looks like we've done just that. A huge 4-0 win at home against Coventry, courtesy of a hat-trick from Leo Veliz, followed up by a huge away win against our arch-rivals Chelsea 2-0, has got us right back on track in the Premier League as we managed to drag ourselves back into the Champions League places, and now we're only 5 points behind Manchester City, who lead the way. The time has now come for one of the most eagerly anticipated North London derbies in years. Two teams not only fighting for a Champions League spot, but also in the hunt for the title as well. It is Tottenham v Arsenal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Saka for Arsenal. Nice pass into Rudiger, who seemingly is flying his trade here at Arsenal now as he drives past Bentancur in midfield. And now it's Saka who tries to go past Romero, but in the end Ayala's able to bring it out of defence in his first start in a North London derby. Into Gabby Jesus. It's Martinelli to turn around the corner into Acuna, who's overlapping him on the left-hand side, and he goes past my defenders really easily back into Martinelli. Martinelli held up by Romero well. Looks like it's going to be Odegaard who's going to take the resulting corner. It looks like he's going to go short. He does go short to Acuna. Acuna just drifts past Maddison like he's not there. Into Saka on the edge of the box. Wide. Ayala with the free kick. Goes short into Benjamin Pavard on the left-hand side. Romero into Bentancur, who's back defending. He's going to try and bring it forward, but the Arsenal press is doing well, and they've marked us man for man. We can't seem to get the ball past their last line of defence. Martinelli to bring it out now into Jorginho, who finds himself the most advanced, but it's Ayala who does a brilliant job of defending there. Brilliant stuff from the young man. Ayala to bring this out of defence as well. Finds Heung-min Son down the left-hand side. Song tries to find Vlahovic. Vlahovic turns, and he can't strike because he's been flagged for offside. Odegaard trying to go past Bentancur. Brilliant challenge from the man in midfield. And he tries to find a ball into James Maddison, who turns well, strikes with his right. It's deflected, corner. And of course it's going to be Maddison to take the resulting corner. Fires it in for Vlahovic. Well headed away by the former Chelsea man in Rudiger. Højbjerg though will feed it back out to Maddison to throw it back into the box. Look at Kulusevski at the back post. Headed away by Kieran Trippier, I think that was. The former Spurs man, what a traitor. And yes, I was right. It is the former Spurs man, Kieran Trippier, who has crossed the North London divide to ply his trade for Arsenal. How on earth could you do it? Odegaard into Gabby Jesus. He plays it back into Jorginho. Jorginho unopposed, brings the ball forward, gives it to Jesus, who strikes. Easy for Vicario to just beat that one away. Going to be Martinelli who's going to take the following corner. He will look like he's going to throw this one in. He does, into the near post, but it's Benjamin Pavard who hends it away. Only out as far as Rudiger. Martinelli will get a second go. Short to Saka. Saka looking for an option in the box. Twisting, turning into Odegaard. Brilliant challenge again by Ayala. He's had a great game in his first North London derby, but Jesus fires it against Vicario, and that was very, very lucky. Pedro Porro into Højbjerg. He finds Kulusevski. Kulusevski into Pedro Porro again. Well worked here from the Tottenham players. Now he's going to try and put this into the box to Bentancur on the volley. What a save. And look how much it means to him. Wow, that was absolutely sensational. What a volley from Bentancur, and what an almighty save from Ramsdale. My word, that has kept them in the game. Kuna trying to go one-on-one with the substitute Cubo, and he's done a really good job of just out-muscling him, and feeds in Martinelli, who feeds in Gabby Jesus, who feeds in Odegaard. Vicario is there with another huge save. Brennan Johnson on as a sub to try and bring the ball forward, tries to feed in Vlahovic, does a really good job, and Vlahovic now is going to look for Brennan Johnson, who finds Ayala just over ahead of him on the left-hand side. He's got no options though. He flings it in. It's not the best ball. It's headed away by Saliba. Bentancur though wins the rebound. Højbjerg finds a ball into Pedro Porro. Saliba is there again. It's bouncing around all over the place, and in the end Ramsdale just hacks it away. Maddison now for Spurs into Bentancur. Nice ball into the Uruguayan man, and he drives into the box unopposed, and Bentancur this time will get the goal. Look at the celebrations from him. Look at the celebrations from the fans. What a goal. Bentancur just drove into the penalty area, and it was an almighty strike, and Ramsdale had no chance this time. Tottenham take the lead in the North London derby. About 5 minutes remaining on the clock here for Arsenal to try and see if they can find an equaliser. Jorginho brings it forward. Oh my word, two-footed challenge there. I was very lucky to get away with that one, but Romero comes across with a brilliant challenge, and Takefusa Kubo is taken out from behind. Pedro Porro, I'm just going to boot this one away anywhere will do, and that is a brilliant ball into Brennan Johnson. He tried to feed in Vlahovic. It was well defended, but somehow we managed to find ourselves in an advanced position. Ayala into Vlahovic. He turns brilliantly. Vlahovic drives into the box. Vlahovic to strike. Vlahovic to give us a 2-goal lead. Look at the celebrations. It's absolutely crazy here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. All the subs, the players, even myself have come running to celebrate with Vlahovic. And from looking like we were going to concede at one end to absolutely smashing a goal past the goalkeeper down the other. What a finish from Vlahovic, and what a way to finish the game here. It is 2-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I shake the hand of Arteta and salute the crowd, as I know how much this game means. A brilliant performance from this man, Dusan Vlahovic. As at full time it finishes Spurs 2, Arsenal 0. It was a fantastic result, and one that has helped turn our team's fortunes around, as we now sit second in the Premier League table, level on points with league leaders Manchester City. But good news is unfortunately followed by bad, as we are hit with 2 big injuries. Firstly, Benjamin Pavard has broken his metatarsal, and that means he's going to be out for the next 2 months. And my highest rated midfielder in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has broken his elbow, and that means he's going to be out for about 6 weeks as well. But with the January transfer window now officially open, it's time to make use of our now almost £300 million budget. With Ryan Sessegnon now having departed to Chelsea, leaving the 18-year-old Sergio Ayala as the only recognised left-back at the club, that is where we're going to begin. Now, I've had plenty of fantastic options given to me through you guys. First and foremost being Theo Hernandez, who's now 27, and he would no doubt be a huge upgrade across my starting 11 arguably one of the best left-backs in the world and one of the highest-rated ones in FIFA altogether. Would he be willing to leave AC Milan for Tottenham though? That is the biggest question. In real life, João Cancelo found himself leaving Manchester City after falling out with Pep Guardiola, but in this career mode, he still finds himself plying his trade in Manchester. Now, there can be no doubt about the Portuguese quality overall and his fantastic experience in Champions League football, but with him being 30 years of age, is he a real long-term option at left-back for us? Now, someone who could be a long-term option at left-back for us is Alejandro Balde at 21 years of age and at 84 rated. My word, what a fantastic young signing this Spaniard could be. However, with him already having made the move to PSG, again, would he be willing to trade the bright lights of Paris for North London? And so all of that talk leaves me with just one more option. It's a man himself who's got experience of playing for PSG, but now finds himself playing for Lazio on this career mode. He's someone who's impressed me massively in the 2 times that we've played them in the Champions League, and it's someone whom I'm sure will be absolutely desperate to move to England to finally get his chance of playing in the Premier League. Nuno Mendes joins Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for £62 million. The young man is rated 84. He's got all of the attributes to be an absolutely world-class left-back, and with age on his side, there is absolutely no telling what sort of potential this young man can reach. And so, with one position down, it's now time to move on to another. Now, the departure of Yves Bissouma to Manchester City meant that I was always going to be looking for another central midfielder. And whilst the debate about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg's role at the club still up for debate, but with him now out injured for the next 6 weeks, there can be no debate whatsoever that not only do I have to find a replacement for him, but I definitely cannot sell him this window. Now, once again, there's been so many different fantastic options that have been presented with me. Rodrigo de Paul is one of them. At an 84 rating, he would definitely come in and improve my squad. But again, at 30 years of age, is he a long-term option that I'm looking for? The same can be said about Mikel Merino. At 85 rating, he will definitely improve the squad. But with him being 28 years of age and playing for PSG, would he really want to move to Tottenham at this stage in his career? Ryu Hatate has been linked with Spurs so many times in the recent transfer window with Ange Postecoglou taking over, and with him being 80 rating, he would probably find a nice place on my bench, but realistically would probably struggle to try and find his way into my starting 11. Now, at 83 rated, Edson Alvarez could be a great shout, and with him playing at West Ham, I'm sure I could probably prize him away from the London club, as he'll be desperate to play European football. However, with his pace only being 69 overall, and with his physical stats not being particularly good, I'm not really sure he has the right attributes to play in central midfield for me. And similar to Alvarez, Koopmeiners at 82 rated clearly offers us some decent experience and would probably improve the squad overall. However, similar again to Alvarez, with his pace only being 69 and his physical stats not being fantastic, is he really the answer to our problems in central midfield? And so, taking all of that into account, I feel like I'm left with one more option. He's a man who so many of you have mentioned to me in the comments that you'd like to see playing for Tottenham Hotspur, and he's a man who's been regularly linked with the club in the summer transfer window in real life, and whilst he's got his Chelsea links in this career mode, he's made the move to Everton, and now he's ready to make the move back to London, more specifically a club playing European football. That is right, it is Conor Gallagher to join Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for £40 million. With him only being 24, he was the youngest pick of all the midfielders you've suggested to me, and with him being 6 foot and having great overall stats across the board, and with him having that relentless high attacking and defensive work rate, he will fit in perfectly to my gegenpressing system. And so, with those 2 new signings going straight into my starting 11, but with us only being at the very beginning of the January transfer window, and still having almost £200 million left to spend, again, let me know down in the comments below, is there any other area of the team you think need improving? And is there anyone else you would like to see me spend that money on? And with Wolves up next in the Premier League, it is the perfect opportunity for both of those young men to make their Tottenham Hotspur debuts in front of the home fans at a snow-filled Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Cario, a nice disguised little dink pass into Romero that cleared the attackers, and now Conor Gallagher can bring the ball forward, and it's straight into the path of Vlahovic, who has the time to drive into the box, and he says thank you very much. Well, it's taken just 12 minutes for Vlahovic to get on the score sheet, and just 12 minutes for Conor Gallagher to register his first assist in a Tottenham shirt. A fabulous through ball into the path of the striker, and look at this for a finish. Brilliantly done, past the goalkeeper, 1-0 Spurs. Pedro Porro, nice pass into Gallagher again, who already has been heavily involved in the opening 20 minutes. He finds Kulusevski. Kulusevski tries to feed it back into Vlahovic, but instead manages to get onto the rebound. He's going to try and throw this one into the box. Oh my word, somehow we managed to miss that, and Wolves get it clear. Mickey van der Ven playing in place of the injured Benjamin Pavard, and Nuno Mendes The other debutant now to bring this out of defence. Look at the pace and the guile from the young man to bring it out. He's trying to find the right pass and in the end just gets caught up. And Wolves can now try and hit us on the counter-attack. Bentancur, nice one-touch pass into Nuno Mendes. And Mendes is going to try and bring this into the centre of the park. Nice stuff. It's a young man who's clearly looking to make an impression. Maddison feeds a ball into Heung-min Son. Lovely done. Heung-min Son with his left. Big save from the goalkeeper. Maddison will take the resulting corner. Fires it in for the head of Heung-min Son. Big save. Maddison again will take the second corner of the game. And again looking for Heung-min Son. This time it's the Bentancur. Whoa, my word. What a fantastic touch and turn and volley from the young man. But he finds Kulusevski out wide. He throws it back into the box. Looking for the head of someone. But no one got there. Bentancur headed down. And eventually Wolves managed to get it clear. Only out as far as Nuno Mendes. He will throw it back into the box. Looking for Vlahovic. Well defended by the Wolves defence. Conor Gallagher away though. And in the end Wolves hack it clear. Romero into Conor Gallagher, under a bit of pressure here, but he feeds it back to Christian Romero again, back into Bentancur. He turns nicely around the press of the Wolves midfield, and he finds Heung-min Son on the left-hand side. Heung-min Son again is going to try and go to the far post here, looking for Kulusevski, headed away by the left-back Johnny. Tried to head down by Conor Gallagher, but he was beaten to it by the Wolves midfield. Sarabia now streaking down this right-hand side for Wolves at the start of the second half as they look to try and drag themselves back into this game. He linked up with the former Spurs man Doherty, who then gave the ball away. Bentancur, lovely pass all the way over to an unmarked Pedro Porro on the right-hand side. He feeds in Maddison, who turns really nicely, feeds in Vlahovic. What a ball into the path of Bentancur. He can't get there ahead of the goalkeeper. Delagarde into Fabio Silva, but he's well challenged by Mickey van der Ven. Into Heung-min Son, taken away from the midfield. Vlahovic now to try and feed it across, but in the end it's worked out. It's gone to Heung-min Son. He tried to go past the Wolves midfield, but somehow he still managed to keep hold of the ball here. How on earth has Heung-min Son done this? He's still got it. He strikes. Big save. Pedro Porro under pressure from a relentless Wolves press, but he's wriggled away really nicely from it. But it's 3-on-3 here, but somehow he's managed to find Nuno Mendes, who's high on the left-hand side, who then gets challenged. He still has to adapt to the pace of the Premier League, it seems. Oliver Skipp now trying to dance away from the challenges of the Wolves attackers, and now he manages to do it, and he releases Mickey van der Ven into Maddison. Maddison tries to feed in Nuno Mendes. He manages to find Brennan Johnson, though. He finds Maddison. He turns, looking for Gallagher. Gallagher on his right to strike, looking to get his first Tottenham goal. It's well saved. Just over 10 minutes remain. It's another Maddison corner. This time it's fired over the head of Brennan Johnson. Pedro Porro, though, wins the return ball, gives it back to Maddison. He shifts it back onto his right. Going to try and go past the right back. He does. Across to Nuno Mendes, who would have loved to have scored on his debut, but he gets the header all wrong. Doherty boots that one clear, only out as far as Christian Romero. It's been all Spurs so far in this game, and we really should be more than 1-0 up. But with only one goal separating the two teams, it is anyone's to win, and Wolves can easily get themselves back in the game. And with just under 5 minutes remaining, it looks like they're going to try and do this with Fabio Silva trying to go past Mickey van der Ven. He does, and in the end it's Romero with a brilliant challenge right at the death. Fantastic defending as it's hacked away from Brennan Johnson. Fortunately enough for me, that was the last attack of the game. As the players celebrated, it is a hard-fought 1-0 victory here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. As at full-time here, it finishes Spurs 1, Wolves 0. A fantastic way to end the episode, and a fantastic way to lift us to the summit of the Premier League table. This man, Conor Gallagher, absolutely bossed the midfield and threw in an assist for the sake of it. Brilliant performance in his debut, and whilst Nuno Mendes showed flashes of brilliance, it will take some time for the young man to adapt to the rigours of Premier League football. But with almost £200 million still left in the budget, and some improvements surely still to be made to this squad, as I said, let me know down in the comments what you think. Who would you like to be seeing plying their trade in a Tottenham shirt this season? And thanks again for watching today's episode. That is it. I will see you again next time. The fight for Champions League and Premier League glory at Tottenham Hotspur is well and truly on. And after signing 2 new players worth over £100 million, plus still having almost £200 million still left to spend, I think we've got room for one more signing this episode. As ever, if you're enjoying the series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get into today's episode. And as always, we're starting with your comments. Mitoma or Jota are probably the best choice for left winger in my opinion. For midfield, you should consider to bring in Locatelli, and Tayor would be a good centre-back prospect as well. Yeah, so there's no doubt that Mitoma, now 27, is entering his prime, and now having moved to Marseille on this career mode, would certainly, I'm sure, be happy to make the move to Spurs and can definitely offer us something to our squad. And as for Jota, again, another player who was heavily linked with Spurs in the summer transfer window in real life, and another player who many of you have said you would like to see play in Tottenham colours. However, with my captain Heung-min Son still firing on all cylinders this season and becoming my top goal scorer so far with 10 goals in 17 Premier League appearances, I'm not quite sure he's ready to be replaced in my starting 11 just yet. However, with him turning 33 in the summer and his stats on the decline, it might be sooner rather than later that I look at those choices to potentially replace the South Korean legend. To keep it realistic, I think you should sell Tapsoba because he wants to leave, and in real life the manager would have to respect their decision and let them go unless you have a lot of games that you can play him in and he becomes happy. Yeah, so this is the problem with Tapsoba. Although he has already featured 14 times for me so far this season, he hasn't really been able to command a starting position. And whilst he's been decent in the Champions League, those sort of performances have not been reflected in the Premier League, and because of that he's now demanded a move away from the club. And with Maurizio Pochettino returning to his former club to try and buy our players for the third time in this career mode, it is with great regret that we will be saying goodbye to Edmund Tapsoba as he agrees a deal with Chelsea for £50.5 million. Since you want to sell Tapsoba, you could bring in Kim Min-jae as a replacement, as he's Korean, he can press well and he has great pace. So yeah, with the unfortunate departure of Edmund Tapsoba, that does mean that I am going to need to find an immediate replacement for the 25-year-old. And based on your comments and suggestions, there are 3 key players whom I've whittled the choices down to. Starting off with this man, Malik Tayor. He's got experience playing for AC Milan, but on this career mode he seems to have moved to Leicester City. He's only 23 years of age, so clearly he's got his best years ahead of him. Added to the fact, I think it would probably be pretty easy to pry him away from Leicester City as well. However, with him only being 79 rated overall, he would represent a backward step at the heart of my defence if I was to bring him in. And I think right now, with us looking to challenge for both the Premier League and the Champions League, we need someone to come in who is going to be able to hit the ground running immediately. At 27 years of age and 87 rated, there can be no doubt that Fikayo Tomori would certainly be able to hit the ground running if he was to join us. He's got pace, power and all the attributes I would like to look for at the heart of my defence. However, with him now being at AC Milan and with him being their best defender, they will unfortunately not sell him as they don't have enough depth in that position. And so in my mind that leaves me with just one more option. He's a man who's a commanding figure at the heart of Bayern Munich's defence and a man who has ample experience playing at the highest level. And as someone who has an incredible amount of respect for our Tottenham Hotspur captain and his international compatriot in South Korea, I'm sure he will be absolutely desperate not just to ply his trade in the Premier League, but to play at club level alongside his national captain Heung-min Son. That's right, Kim Min-jae, the towering centre-back, joins Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for £62 million. He represents a massive step up at the heart of my defence and someone who can come in and immediately command a starting position. He's the perfect replacement for the injured Benjamin Pavard, and I'm sure he will form a formidable partnership alongside Christian Romero at the heart of my defence. But just as I thought this squad was looking in perfect condition to try and challenge for the Premier League and Champions League titles, we are hit with some massive news as Atletico Madrid have come in with a bid of over £100 million for our star striker Dusan Vlahovic. And despite my pleading with the young man to stay at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, see out his contract and try and achieve greatness by winning the Premier League and the Champions League title, frustratingly the chance to play against the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona means that his head has been turned and he wants to leave the club. And so that has left me with no choice but to accept a renewed offer from Diego Simeone. And it means that at a pivotal moment in our season, one of our best players are departing the club as Dusan Vlahovic leaves Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for £107 million. And so on transfer deadline day, we are hit with a massive conundrum. Now I could turn to 21-year-old Aleo Veliz to ask him to step up to become our number one striker, but at such a young age and with barely any experience, I think that's going to be a big ask for the young Argentinian. And so I think I'm going to do exactly what Ange Postecoglou did in real life, and that is to turn to our club captain, the Tottenham icon Heung-min Son, to move into a striking position and to lead the line for us up front. However, with Son moving centrally, that means that a spot has opened up on the left-hand side of our midfield that suddenly on transfer deadline day we now need to fill. And so, having listened to all of your comments and spoken to my club captain, the South Korean revolution is going to continue at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. As that is right, it is now time to turn to the exciting, up-and-coming and dynamic left winger, Lee Kang-in will join Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for £33.5 million. He's another player who offers us versatility across midfield and in central areas, and at 23 years of age, he's got his best years ahead of him. For me though, the most interesting thing is that we now have two of Europe's most exciting young and up-and-coming talents that are going to be battling it out on the left-hand side of our midfield. Will it be Brennan Johnson or will it be Lee Kang-in who is going to be able to cement themselves as the long-term replacement for Heung-min Son? However, with the dramas of transfer deadline day finally coming to an end, it is finally time for our two new arrivals to make their long-awaited debuts. And my word, what a team to make their debuts against as we head to the London Stadium to face off against West Ham United. From looking like a pretty solid unit for the first 6 months of the season, we've now got 4 new recruits, all starting today. Kim Min-jae in the central defence, Nuno Mendes at left back, Conor Gallagher starts in central midfield, and Lee Kang-in will make his debut in left wing. But for me, the most interesting point is going to be how is Heung-min Son going to perform in his new role up front. Lee Kang-in with his first touch in a Spurs shirt finds Nuno Mendes. Mendes into Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son takes it! Oh, he puts it over the bar. And Heung-min Son was only inches away from immediately cementing himself as a great choice to start up front. Pedro Porro in a central position finds Benton Core. He's going to find the overlapping run of Nuno Mendes, who finds Lee Kang-in. It's his first opportunity to really drive at the West Ham defence, and he does that. Tries to fire a ball in, not good enough though. Lucas Paqueta for West Ham bursting through centrally, but finds a wonderful ball over to Kudos, who absolutely killed us when we played West Ham the last time, but that's a great interception from Kim Min-jae to prove exactly why he was the right man to join Tottenham. Lee Kang-in, he's absolutely taken out from behind. That is a horrendous challenge. Look at him on the floor. I'm hoping and praying that he's not injured straight away. And Kudos can consider himself a very lucky man, only getting a yellow card. That is a horrendous challenge. That should be a red. My word, how on earth has he stayed on the field? Well, fortunately enough, Lee Kang-in is going to be okay, and he's going to be the man who's going to take the resulting free kick. They're going to try and fire this into the penalty spot. It's well put in, looking for the header. Madison headed away. Kulusevski will try and pick it up, but it's well defended by West Ham. Kudos being chased down by Lee Kang-in here. Good defending. And he's already showing he's desperate to make an impression to the Tottenham Hotspur faithful. Going to be a corner here for West Ham that Ben Rama is going to take, and he doesn't have any options. So he's going to just throw it into the box. Headed away by Heung-min Son. Only out as far as Kulusevski. He manages to get it away. Only out as far as Kufal though. Is he going to try and fire this one back in the box? No, he doesn't. Well intercepted by Nuno Mendes. Lee Kang-in now to try and break into his national compatriot Heung-min Son. He finds the ball back to him. Doesn't have any options in the centre though, so I'm just going to try and hold this one up and look at the back post for Kulusevski. Instead he finds Kulusevski in the centre, and it's a big save from Fabianski. Benton Core picks it up, fires the ball back out to Lee Kang-in, who's been heavily involved so far. Looks for Heung-min Son. Headed away though, only out as far as Andre Silva, who manages to head it clear. Kim Min-jae though gives it to Nuno Mendes. All pressure for Spurs here. Madison onto his right. Madison strikes straight at the goalkeeper. Conor Gallagher going to fire a ball all the way over to Lee Kang-in on the left hand side, who takes it really nicely, and he just drifts past the challenge and fires a ball into Heung-min Son, who was so close to getting on the end of it. Ketar into Socek, unmarked in the centre of the park. It's Conor Gallagher who tries to challenge, but Florentino Luis picks it up into Andre Silva, who blazes it over the bar. And Rama being chased down by Kim Min-jae, and that is a brilliant challenge from the South Korean, showing his commanding figure at the back for us. Benton Core into Lee Kang-in. Lovely turn, and he drives down the left-hand side, going to try and find a ball into the box. It's a good ball, and Fabianski makes a bit of a meal of it, but we've got a corner. And after a 70-minute display, it's going to be Lee Kang-in who's going to come off, and it's going to be Brennan Johnson, his fierce competitor on that left-hand side, who's going to come on, and he'll be hoping he can inject some sort of energy and some sort of impetus into our play and try and get the goal for us. Madison to take, throws it deep, looking for Kim Min-jae with a towering header. What a save. Madison's going to take the corner on the other side, looking for the substitute, Aleo Veliz, who's come on for Heung-min Son. Couldn't find him, but instead Conor Gallagher will pick it up on the edge of the box, throws it back to Kim Min-jae, who's in an advanced position. He finds James Madison again. Madison into Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson with his right. Puts it wide. Alvarez into Kudos on the right-hand side for West Ham. Nice little reverse pass into Florentino Luis. He gets it back. He's going to try and go past Mendes. He does go past Mendes. Can he find a ball in? No, he can't. Kim Min-jae again with a huge block. And this time it's Benton Core with a block. Ketar out wide to Ben Rama on the left-hand side. End-to-end stuff here in the final 5 minutes of this game. It's Romero, though, who puts in a fabulous challenge. And again, we can try and hit them on the counter-attack. Lovely ball into Kubo. Kubo driving into the centre here. He's driving into the penalty area. Can he find a ball into Aleo Veliz? No, he can't. It's too easy. Perhaps I should have shot. and that is a massive let-off for West Ham as the goalkeeper boots it clear and the referee blows for full time. Big mistake on my part in stoppage time there. I really should have taken the shot off, but I didn't, and that has potentially cost us a huge 3 points here. Full time, it finishes West Ham 0, Spurs 0. And of course, with a goalless draw, the media are now demanding to know how on earth am I going to get the best out of my attacking talent, bearing in mind we've just sold our best striker at the worst possible time. And whilst it was a fairly solid debut for Lee Kang-in on the left-hand side, contributing a lot and linking up fairly well with Heung-min Son, the lack of goals and the lack of clear-cut chances created just goes to show perhaps the media are onto something. So let me know down in the comments below, with Heung-min Son now set as my central striker, how can I get the best out of him and the players around him? Do I need to consider changing up some of the attacking instructions? Do I need to think about how I can try and improve the tactics to fit better with the type of players I have at the club? Or do I need to consider changing my formation altogether? Again, let me know down in the comments what you think. But after struggling at home to Nottingham Forest, only managing to get a last-minute equaliser from Brennan Johnson, we find ourselves sinking down to 4th place in the Premier League, now 5 points off league leaders Liverpool. However, after a bit of a tough period, the squad are hit with a much-needed morale boost, as the leader of men, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, has returned to training and declared himself fit to play in our very next game. And what a game to return for, as we travel to Anfield, looking to avenge our 3-0 battering at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at the hands of Liverpool. As we look to close the gap to the top of the Premier League leaders, it is a mouth-watering clash. It's Liverpool against Tottenham. Kulusevski finds Pedro Porro, and Pedro Porro has got acres of space to run into down this right-hand side. Can he find a ball over into James Maddison on the volley? Oh my word, that was so close to an absolutely wonderful goal. Look at this from a volley. Absolutely sensational, and he was inches away from perhaps the goal of the season. Alton for Liverpool under pressure from James Maddison, and all Liverpool can do is hack the ball forward, but they've done a really good job. But Højbjerg, on his return to the starting 11, does a wonderful job of breaking up play. Maddison tried to feed in Heung-min Son, instead feeds in Lee Kang-in, and it's a brilliant block from Virgil van Dijk. McAllister fires a ball over into Tsimikas, again well blocked this time from Kulusevski, and he's taken out from behind, but play goes on. Højbjerg back to Kulusevski on the right hand side. He tries to go past Tsimikas. Instead, I will try and cut back and try and feed a ball across, looking for the Heung-min Son. What a volley! What an almighty save from Alisson. Well, we are knocking at the door in the opening 20 minutes here. James Maddison to fire a ball in, looking for the header. Kulusevski, another huge save from Alisson. Truda, McAllister, Virgil van Dijk into Gertruda. He looks for Mo Salah's gone past Nuno Mendes, who's struggling so far to adapt to life in the Premier League. He can't get back. Gakpo has it, fires it across. Easy for Vicario in the end. James Maddison, who finds himself deep, but he's wriggled past a couple of challenges and finds Pedro Porro. He feeds it into Kulusevski. Kulusevski did cut it back into James Maddison. Maddison into Heung-min Son, and Heung-min Son into the back of the net. Well, my word, what a sensational piece of play by the entire attacking team. Kulusevski into the path of James Maddison. Even better ball into Heung-min Son, and it's one touch, one goal. A fabulous finish from the South Korean. Our club captain scores again, and this time he makes it 1-0 Spurs. Into James Maddison, wriggles away from a challenge really well here and feeds in Pedro Porro, who's just offside. Benson Core into James Maddison. James Maddison, who's been heavily involved so far, and he's done a brilliant job of getting away from the Liverpool press. Bentancur gets that all wrong. Into McAllister. McAllister out wide to Mo Salah. Cuts back inside for Gakpo. Liverpool don't seem to know where to go here. Are they running out of ideas at Anfield? And it looks like Højbjerg. What a brilliant way for him to come back into the starting 11. And what an impact he has made by winning the ball. Heung-min Son, though, feeds in Maddison. Maddison turns. I'm going to try and look for a run here. Can't find anyone for Lee Kang-in, on the left-hand side. Fires it across. And it's too heavy. Instead, it goes over the head of Kulusevski, but Pedro Porro will pick it up, and he dances round the left back, fires it back in. Another huge cross, this time into Heung-min Son, and Heung-min Son into the back of the net. It's his second goal of the game. It's our second goal of the game, and it's a huge cushion that no doubt we needed. And it's a wonderful ball over from Pedro Porro, but it's the two South Koreans who combine. Lee Kang-in gets his first assist in a Spurs shirt, and it's beautifully taken down by Heung-min Son. It's 2-0 Spurs. Brennan Johnson Johnson on as a sub, feeds in Nuno Mendes, and look at the space Nuno Mendes has. He continues into the box here. Nuno Mendes into Heung-min Son for his hat-trick. What a save from Alisson. Bentancur, brilliant challenge on Gertruda, and he manages to escape with the ball and escape down the left-hand side. He continues unopposed here. Can I try and fire a ball into the box? I can, looking for Heung-min Son. I'm desperate for that man to get his hat-trick here today. Pedro Porro down into the path of Hojbjerg, who takes it really nicely. James Maddison onto his left, into the edge of the box. Big save. But with just 1 minute left, unfortunately Son won't get his hat-trick, but he does deserve a warm round of applause from the Tottenham faithful. It's been a fabulous performance. Maddison, with hopefully the final corner of the game, fires it in looking for the header. Brennan Johnson! What a save from Alisson again. However, he will get another chance to fire it in, and he does fire it in to the penalty spot. It's headed away, only to have as far as Kubo. Maddison, back to Kubo. Kubo tried to find a ball into Brennan Johnson. It was well defended by Liverpool in the end, as the referee blows for full time. Well, what a game, and what a result. The fans know how big and important that result was. It is a huge 3 points on the board. That man Heung-min Son was sensational from start to finish. As at full time here at Anfield, it finishes Liverpool 0, Spurs 2. It is brilliant to see this man's name back on the score sheet, and it's even better to see this man's name on the assist sheet for the first time in a Tottenham shirt. And with Hojbjerg going straight back into action, being thrown into the thick of things and making an immediate impact on his return to the starting 11. Things are looking even more positive as Benjamin Pavard is the next man to return from his long-term injury. And as you can see from the background, we are going to need all of the Champions League experience we can get, as we have been drawn in a mammoth round of 16 tie against Borussia Dortmund. That is right, we are heading straight to Germany to play in front of the white wall as we look to seal progression to the next round. And due to fatigue, there are a few changes that I have made to my starting 11. It sees the return of Sergio Ayala to left back. Bryan Hill will get an opportunity to play behind Heung-min Son, and Brennan Johnson will also feature on the left-hand side of midfield as he replaces Lee Kang-in, who drops to the bench. Bryan Hill tries to play a ball forward, but is well intercepted, but Bentancur picks up the scraps, and Bryan Hill will get it back, feeds in Heung-min Son, and look at the pace already he's got, drives into the box, strikes! Oh my word, it's absolutely sensational! Well, within the first 5 minutes, Heung-min Son strikes again. Look at this for a goal, drives into the box, unopposed, and he absolutely smashes it with his left foot. He can shoot with his right, he can shoot with his left, he can shoot from anywhere. What a fabulous goal! Heung-min Son gives us the lead. Schuler into Zabitzer into Adeyemi, who's well challenged by Christian Romero, and he can try to bring the ball out of defence. Finds Kulusevski into Bryan Hill, tried to play it into the onrushing Hojbjerg, but it was well intercepted. And look at this for a ball back into Adeyemi. He goes back to Zabitzer, into Griezmann. What a goal from Borussia Dortmund, and just like that, they are right back in this tie. Well, it was a brilliant passage of play from Borussia Dortmund. They completely opened us up at the back. And a fabulous finish from Griezmann. Vicario could only get a touch on it, but it wasn't enough. It's 1-1. Brennan Johnson into Ayala. Nice pass. Ayala goes central. Wonderful stuff here. Into Bryan Hill. Bryan Hill into Kulusevski. Kulusevski into the back of the net. My word, what is happening here in Germany? It is goals galore in front of the yellow wall. And just like that, within a blink of an eye, it's 2-1. Fabulous piece of play. Ayala was the architect. Wicked ball into Bryan Hill. And a lovely touch around the corner into Kulusevski. And he was not going to miss from that distance. It's 2-1 Spurs. Giovanni Reina down the right-hand side. Lovely challenge from Kim Min-jae. Brought in to do things exactly like that. Heung-min Son, though, out to Brennan Johnson on the left-hand side. He's got the pace to try and go one-on-one with Reece James, who's now playing for Borussia Dortmund. Cuts it back. Lovely, lovely little flick back into Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son with his right. My word, it's 3. Well, what is happening? It is absolutely outrageous stuff. 4 goals in the opening 30 minutes and 3 of them are ours. It is Heung-min Son with his second, but it's Sergio Ayala who's again involved. This time he gets the assist. But it's a fabulous finish from Heung-min Son, right into the top right-hand corner. Keeper had no chance. We lead 3-1. Ayala. Oh, lovely stuff from Ayala. He is in fine form today. He is desperate to try and get his place back from Nuno Mendes, and he feeds it into Bryan Hill. Tried to play it into Kulusevski. It was just a little bit too slow with that one. Adeyemi for Dortmund now. They're desperately, frantically trying to search for a way back in this game. Zabitzer, wonderful, brilliant. It's 3-2. They found a way back in the game. Well, this is the most end-to-end game I think I've ever played so far in this career mode. Absolutely crazy stuff. 5 goals inside the opening half. And it's Zabitzer for Dortmund to get them back in the game, just as I thought we'd managed to claw out a lead. Dortmund back in it, 3-2. Ayala, he's been so heavily involved so far down this left flank, but he cuts it in to Brennan Johnson, who himself cuts inside, looking for a ball to Heung-min Son. Again, I tried to feed it to Brian Hill, good defending. Pedro Porro into Bentancur. Bentancur's going to try and find a ball to Ayala down this left-hand side. Wonderful ball. Ayala to play it back across, looking for Heung-min Son with his head. Straight into the arms of the goalkeeper for half-time. Giovanni Reina for Borussia Dortmund to bring it forward. He's being tracked by Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and that is a brilliant challenge from the Dane, proving exactly why he's gone straight back into my starting 11. Bentancur, though, will feed in Brian Hill down this left-hand side. Has Brian Hill got the pace to drive into the box? He does manage to. Can I feed a ball back across into Heung-min Son? Well defended. Pedro Porro into Bentancur. Bentancur can release Kulusevski down the right-hand side, and Kulusevski instead is going to cut inside. I'm going to try and feed a ball across to Lee Kang-in, who's just come on as a sub. Lovely touch onto his right, straight at the goalkeeper. Beauvais into Julian Brandt, who's got no one marking him. Kim Min-jae with a fabulous challenge. Conor Gallagher now on as a sub. Aleo Veliz tried to feed a ball into Højbjerg, but it just wasn't the right one. Beauvais again for Dortmund into Nemencha, who's been pretty quiet. Griezmann, though, can't find a ball, and Ayala will bring this one out into Aleo Veliz, who's come on as a sub. Aleo Veliz tries to bring the ball forward into Bentancur. Nice ball into him. Bentancur out wide to Sergio Ayala, who's been up and down that left flank relentlessly all game. Højbjerg can't get there, but the referee will blow for full time. Well, my word, after a breathless first half, neither team could get a goal in the second, but I don't care either way. That man Heung-min Son with another 2 goals to his name and another fabulous performance, and we will take the victory back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as it finishes here. Dortmund 2, Spurs 3. Well, Son grabs another brace as we manage to grab the win, and that really gives us the advantage heading into the second leg. And with Lee Kang-in absolutely over the moon at being able to make his Champions League debut for Spurs, and with us managing to claw back the gap at the top to Liverpool to just 2 points, morale is high and the entire squad are feeling confident as we begin to march on to the final few months of the season. One concern I do have, though, is the performances of this man Nuno Mendes. He's 85 rated and by far one of the best players in my squad, but he has seemed to struggle to adapt to life in Tottenham colours this season. Perhaps it's moving to a new country, perhaps it's just the pace of the Premier League, I don't quite know. But one positive to his move does seem to be the resurgence of Sergio Ayala at left back. He's now up by 4 to 73, and it seems like the added competition is doing wonders to his confidence after a fabulous performance against Borussia Dortmund. And he's going to get another opportunity to impress as we are about to finish off this episode with an eye-watering clash at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as we welcome our title rivals Manchester City for a game that is going to have huge ramifications on the Premier League title race. To Pedro Porro on the right-hand side. Pedro Porro is going to bring this one forward to Kulusevski. Nice pass into him, and Kulusevski to go down, looking for a ball in, looking for Brennan Johnson at the back post. Doesn't quite reach him, well defended by Manchester City. Nunes out to Grealish on the left-hand side. Grealish has got Haaland up ahead of him. Can he try and find him? Doesn't seem like he needs him, but he does find him in the end. And Haaland's in the box here. He's being held up by Pedro Porro beautifully, but Pedro Porro couldn't get the ball away. And Jack Grealish, lovely little flick into Phil Foden. Vicario is there. Romero gets it all wrong. Vicario again. My word, it was 6s and 7s at the back. But fortunately enough, we just managed to hack the ball clear. João Cancelo into Nunes, out to Grealish. Lovely stuff from City, into Cancelo again. He looks for Jack Grealish, up ahead of him. Jack Grealish back into the centre. Well challenged though, and intercepted by Højbjerg. And now it's Heung-min Son to try and bring the ball clear here. He's got Brennan Johnson up ahead of him. And it's a wonderful ball into Brennan Johnson, who's got the pace to get away from the Manchester City defence. Into the box, Brennan Johnson. That is absolutely fabulous. He salutes the sky, and why shouldn't he? That was arguably his best goal of the season. Well, he just had the pace, the power and the tenacity to drive away from the Manchester City defence. It was a glorious finish and a wonderful goal from the young Englishman, looking to try and compete with Lee Kang-in on the left-hand side. And my, what a way to do it. Brilliant goal, 1-0 Spurs. Phil Foden trying to go one-on-one with Sergio Ayala, and he does have the pace to get past him, but Sergio Ayala with a brilliant piece of defending to hold him up. Can't do enough though to stop Phil Foden from continuing his run into the box. Instead it's Mickey van der Ven in an unlikely start for the Dutchman, who manages to get the ball clear. Brennan Johnson into Maddison. A nice pass into Sergio Ayala, who comes storming down this left-hand side, looking to try and make an impression here. Lovely ball into James Maddison, into Brennan Johnson. He says thank you. It's 2-0. Again, he salutes the sky because, again, it's a massive goal for the young Englishman. But it was Sergio Ayala who started the move with a bursting run down the left-hand side, but some beautiful build-up to lay it on a plate for Brennan Johnson, who easily just curled it round the path of Ederson to put us 2-0 up. Ruben Diaz for City. Out wide to Phil Foden. Ayala now. It's been a real ding-dong battle between the two of them down this left-hand side all game. And Phil Foden can't get past him, so has to go back to Mazraoui. He instead can find De Bruyne. Ayala has got to do a job here to stop De Bruyne from getting in, but instead Mazraoui manages to. Haaland's there. Brilliant save from Vicario. It's booted clear by Mickey van der Ven. Brennan Johnson wins the ball high and feeds in James Maddison. And James Maddison on his left to try and strike. Wonderful save from Ederson. Højbjerg. Nice pass into Maddison. Maddison's going to try and release Brennan Johnson. He does release Brennan Johnson. And Johnson has the pace to get away from Rodri here. And he drives into the box looking for his hat-trick. Instead cuts it back to Maddison. Wonderful save. Højbjerg. Nice pass into Lee Kang-in, who's just come on as a sub. Heung-min Son feeds in Rodrigo Bentancur to put the game to bed. He does put the game to bed. Well, my word, what a fabulous finish and what a fabulous game this has been for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Lovely build-up play yet again. And it was a brilliant ball into Bentancur, who found himself in the most advanced position. And it's a brilliant finish from the Uruguay man past Ederson, who had no chance whatsoever. It is 3-0 Tottenham Hotspur. The crowd go wild with celebrations. The Manchester City faithful cannot quite believe what they've seen. It's been a demolition here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, in no small part to the performance of this man, Brennan Johnson. It is full time here, and it's 3-0 Tottenham. It's a brace from the young Englishman, and it's enough to lift us above Manchester City, but still only 2 points behind Liverpool. Just like the arrival and competition of Nuno Mendes has done absolute wonders for Sergio Ayala at the back, it seems like the arrival of Lee Kang-in has done exactly the same thing for Brennan Johnson. A special performance from someone who has that something special. He is now up to 82, and he seems like his trajectory is just continuing to go up. It's been a roller coaster of an episode that has seen some surprising departures, but some even more important arrivals. But with us going strong in the Premier League, with us having the advantage in the Champions League, and with us looking to go all the way in the FA Cup, it is a very exciting time to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan, and a very exciting time to be watching this career mode. Thank you everyone for watching today. That is the end of this episode, and hopefully I'll see you again next time. Last episode saw a South Korean takeover of Tottenham Hotspur. 2 new arrivals and 1 massive departure saw us move our captain Son down the middle, where he's absolutely thriving. And today, as we enter the final stretch of the Premier League and Champions League campaigns, things are starting to heat up. As ever, if you're enjoying the series so far though, please feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get into today's episode. And as ever, we are starting out with your comments. I've been watching a lot of these Tottenham career modes and was a bit confused why no one tried to use Son as a striker instead of signing a new one. Nice to see you do something different. So first and foremost, thanks very much, I do appreciate the comment. Now to be fair, whilst Son is now finding himself leading the line at the heart of our attack, it wasn't always meant to be that way. It was this man, Dusan Vlahovic, who was supposed to be the shining light, but unfortunately a move to Atletico Madrid was just too good for him to turn down. However, with his departure forcing us into the arrival of Lee Kang-in and Brennan Johnson now beginning to step up to the plate on the left-hand side, and with Son now becoming our top goal scorer in all competitions with 15 goals, it has actually really turned out to be a blessing in disguise, and long may it continue. You should try and sign Gavi, as he can light up the midfield position better, and he has great potential. Yeah, so there's no doubt he's an absolute superstar in real life, and clearly that is reflected here on this game. With him only being 20 years of age and already 85 rated, there is no doubt he would immediately come in and improve my squad. Plus the fact it looks like I could get him with an offer of around £55.7 million. Added to the fact I've got £230 million in the transfer budget, there is no doubt I would be able to afford him. However, having just bought Conor Gallagher only last month in January, and with him playing for Barcelona, I'm not quite sure he would realistically want to make the move to Spurs at this point in his career. However, if we were to somehow win the Premier League, or perhaps go one step further and win the Champions League, who knows, at the start of next season there might be a way to change his mind. Interesting players to consider would be Tielemans, Isco, Nicolas Dominguez, Bastoni and Ronaldo. Yeah, so similar situation to Gavi, there is no doubt Yuri Tielemans could come in and make an impression on my squad. But again, having just brought in Conor Gallagher and being pretty well stocked in the centre of midfield with the likes of Rodrigo Bentancur, Oliver Skipp in reserve and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, I'm not really quite sure at the moment I need to bring another central midfielder in. Now there's no doubt Isco would offer us versatility and some much needed Champions League experience, but for some reason on this game, he is now playing for Sutton United. What on earth is going on? Absolute madness on this new game. We could certainly prize him away from them, but my word, they have done well for themselves to capture him. Nicolas Dominguez is another central midfielder, but with him turning 26, he's entering his prime. As you can see, I haven't quite scouted him yet, so I don't actually know how good his stats are, but maybe he is someone I might want to look at in a little bit more detail at the start of next season. Now, there's no doubt that Alessandro Bastoni is a world-class centre-back, but with him only being 25 years of age and already 88 rated, plus he's about to enter his prime years as a centre-back, there is absolutely no limit to what this young man can achieve. However, having just brought in Kim Min-jae in January, plus having the world-class Christian Romero partner him at the centre of defence, again, it's a position I'm not quite sure I need to improve on right now. However, before the end of the season, if the likes of Benjamin Pavard and Mickey van der Ven start to kick up a fuss about not being able to play enough games, maybe I might need to make a decision on their futures, and maybe at the start of next season there might be a position open that Alessandro Bastoni might be able to fill. Now, I've mentioned that we're chugging along nicely in the Premier League, only being 2 points behind league leaders Liverpool. Plus, we've also got a 3-2 advantage heading into the second leg of the round of 16 in the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund. One thing I haven't mentioned though is the FA Cup and us having the chance to do the treble this season. However, standing in our way in the 5th round is Crystal Palace, and with a much rotated team, they have sent us crashing out courtesy of a 2-1 away loss. And after giving us such a huge transfer budget to spend, the board set us up with some lofty objectives, expecting us to win all of the cup competitions that were in this season. But after getting knocked out of the FA Cup at only the round of 16, I already feel like that is going to put some massive pressure on my shoulders for the rest of the season. And with us being knocked out of the FA Cup and the press now asking questions as to whether or not that's going to have a knock-on effect to our Premier League form, we now have a game that always sends shivers up and down the spines of the Tottenham fans. As that is right, we are off to the Emirates for an almighty North London clash against Arsenal. Kim Min-jae out to Ayala, who finds himself starting on the left-hand side of defence today, and he's done a good job playing that into Bentancur, into Brennan Johnson, who of course starts after a wonderful game last time out. Ayala into the box, well cleared away from Saliba. Martinelli is going to try and feed this through into Gabby Jesus. He's done a splendid job skipping away from the challenge of Kim Min-jae. Ayala tried to come across the challenge, wasn't strong enough. Kim Min-jae though, can't get there. Saka now in the box. Has he made the right choice? He tried to play it right across the 6-yard box, and Tavares was nowhere to be seen. No Arsenal striker was anywhere to be seen. And Kulusevski can bring this one out of defence into Heung-min Son, who's come deep, but he's ended up losing the ball to Jorginho. It's been a bit of a shaky start so far here, as Martinelli has it on the left-hand side. Christian Romero frantically trying to come across to cover him. Instead, he has to go back. It was good defending from the Argentinian, and Kulusevski wins the ball high. Really nicely done by the Swede. Can we now try and hit them on the counter-attack? Brennan Johnson picks it up into the path of Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son to play it all the way across to Pedro Porro. Beautifully done. Well worked here. Pedro Porro down the right-hand side. Has to check back onto his left, though. Going to try and feed a ball pass across. Sorry, to James Maddison. And in the end, it's headed away by the Arsenal defence. Good defending. Out to Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson high into Ayala. Ayala searching for an option. In the end, has to cut back inside and fires it across to Pedro Porro. Actually, it's Kulusevski who ends up picking up the ball. Really nicely done. Kulusevski gets it onto his right, fires it across, headed away. Gabriel Jesus being chased down by Christian Romero. Flicks it back really nicely into Jorginho. Tavares into Odegaard. Arsenal looking dangerous here. Going into a box, and Odegaard makes an absolute meal of that one. Bentancur unmarked here into Maddison. Maddison out to Kulusevski. Kulusevski to strike on his right. Big save. Martinelli for Arsenal going down the left-hand side, trying to go up against Pedro Porro, and he's got the pace, but Pedro Porro defends that beautifully. But the Arsenal press is relentless here, and he gives the ball away to Gabby Jesus. Jorginho well defended by Romero, and Hojbjerg is there to clean up the scraps. Heung-min Son over to Kulusevski. Kulusevski cuts it back inside for James Maddison. Maddison back to Kulusevski. Nice play between the two of them, and Kulusevski bursts into the box here. What a save. Going to be Maddison who's going to step up and take the corner. Fires it in, looking for the head of Kulusevski. Those two looking to combine here, but again they couldn't get the job done, and again Arsenal will clear. Kim Min-jae to bring this out of defence. Finds Bentancur. Round the corner pass into the path of Hojbjerg. Nicely done. He finds Pedro Porro, and Pedro Porro has space here. Pedro Porro has time. Can he find Brennan Johnson at the back post? No, he can't. And unfortunately for Son, after all the big talk pre-game, he was unable to find the back of the net today. And it's Aleo Veliz's turn with just 10 minutes remaining to try and see if he can break the deadlock. And it is that man, Aleo Veliz, who's got the ball, and he plays it into Kulusevski. And it's a brilliant pass into Kulusevski. The Swede drives in. I tried to play it back into Veliz. It was good defending from Arsenal in the end. Martinelli now has it. End-to-end stuff here. Both teams frantically trying to get the winning goal. Tavares in an advanced position. Plays a lovely ball into Jorginho, who drives into the box. Pedro Porro trying to get back to defend. He's done a very good job and forced him out wide, but Martinelli picks it up. Well defended by Hotspur. Going to be a Martin Odegaard corner deep into stoppage time here. He throws it into the box. Vicario comes out. He's big. And the referee blows for full time. Well, in the end, it was a pretty tame affair here at the Emirates. Neither team could break down a stubborn defence. And full time here, it finishes Arsenal 0, Spurs 0. And of course, with another 2 points dropped, it's an easy way for the press to get on my case. But I can't really fault the commitment of the lads. I think we were the better team overall, but we've just got to hope that as we get down to the final stretch in the Premier League, we don't start to lose focus of our title ambitions. However, after the most entertaining 45 minutes of football that we've seen across the entire series last episode in the Champions League first round against Borussia Dortmund, it is now time to bring them back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for a game whilst we have the advantage is still very much hanging in the balance. It's only one goal that separates the two teams, and this is a huge clash to determine which of them are going to go through to the next round. Bassibiani down the left-hand side. Borussia Dortmund looking to start this game off well, and they've got a corner, and it's one that Griezmann's going to take. It's only 5 minutes in here, but already they are in the ascendancy. They throw it in, and already they're 1-0 up. Well, it's the former Manchester United man, Raphael Varane, is the man who gets the goal, and he's got them back on level terms. A powerful, thumping header. He got ahead of, I think it was Heung-min Son, and my word, just like that, Borussia Dortmund are straight back on level terms. Joe Porro with the throw into Hotspur. We haven't really been able to get out of second gear so far, and Pavard almost lost it to the Borussia Dortmund press here, but we've just about managed to wriggle away from it. Nuno Mendes out to Lee Kang-in, who starts ahead of Brennan Johnson. He drives down this left-hand side. Can I try and fire a ball in? Oh, it's a wayward cross, and in the end, it's easy for Dortmund to clear away. Benjamin Pavard into Kubo. Kubo tried the reverse ball into the path of Heung-min Son. It was well dealt with by the Borussia Dortmund defence. And look at this for a counter-attack. Adeyemi down the left-hand side. Beats the challenge of Benjamin Pavard. In the end has to go back to the left-back, who in the end gives it away to Heung-min Son. And Heung-min Son now is going to try and drive into the penalty area. He hasn't got the pace to get away from the Borussia Dortmund defence, but he ties them up in knots and does enough to give himself enough time to now fire a ball into the box. Oh my word, it's Raphael Varane who gets the ball headed away again. Nuno Mendes though, into Lee Kang-in, straight at the goalkeeper. Adeyemi for Dortmund. Oh, he goes past Pedro Porro. He sold him a dummy and he got the challenge all wrong. And he's got the pace to get away from Benjamin Pavard, who's desperately trying to trap back here. Great defending, but he hasn't been able to get the ball from him. Oh my word, he takes him out from behind. But somehow, someway, the referees deem that that is only enough for a corner. And it's one that Griezmann's going to throw in. He does throw it in. This time it's Heung-min Son who manages to get the ball away. And Maddison will clear this away from our penalty area. Kubo has got acres of space to run into here, but he's got no real options. Instead, he's going to shift it onto his left and try and strike. It falls to Bentancur, first straight at the goalkeeper. And Maddison, no it wasn't, I think it was Lee Kang-in, who actually wasn't quick enough. And eventually Dortmund able to get the ball clear into Heung-min Son. Maddison picks it up now. Maddison's going to try and ping this one back into Heung-min Son. He does do that. Bentancur goes out to the left-hand side to Lee Kang-in. Reverse pass back into Nuno Mendes. Nice touch into Bentancur. Bentancur to strike. In the end, it's going to fall for a Tottenham corner. Maddison, of course, is going to be the man to take. Fires it in, looking for the head of Heung-min Son. Doesn't manage to reach him. It will reach Lee Kang-in. Lee Kang-in tries to get there, but the referee blows for half-time. Griezmann with the ball. Nice pass into Sabitzer, who strikes from distance. Good save from Vicario. Borussia Dortmund corner here at the very start of the second half. They are looking to try and put a stamp on this game and try and bring themselves into the lead. It's Schuler on the edge of the box. Into Varane, the goal scorer earlier. My word, he forces Vicario into a big save after an absolute screamer from 25 yards out. Reece James for Dortmund. Goes past Lee Kang-in really nicely. Still has it. Nuno Mendes trying to track him down. Nemecha into Sabitzer. Dortmund in the ascendancy here. Oh my word, it's brilliant. Well, look at the celebrations. It's absolutely sensational. I had no idea he was going to do this. Sabitzer picked it up on the edge of the box, and he had too much time and space to strike. Should Vicario have done better? Perhaps he should have. It is 2-0 Dortmund. Well, as things stand here, it's 2-0 Dortmund in the second leg, but it is 4-3 on aggregate, and we have less than 40 minutes to try and bring ourselves back into this game, because if it stays like this, we are out of the Champions League. But it's Heung-min Son going to try and play it across into the path of James Maddison. It falls for Kubo. What a save. Kulusevski on as a substitute will take the corner. The cavalry has arrived, and he fires it in looking for the head of Benjamin Pavard. Only out as far as Nuno Mendes though. Kulusevski will get a second try here. Fires it back in to the back post of Bentancur, and he gets the volley all wrong. Into Nuno Mendes. He's got to try and do something here to bring us back into this game, but he gets it all wrong there with Brian Hill. and that completely derails the momentum, and then he goes and gives the ball away, and he gets very lucky there that he gives away a foul. But it's a foul that the referee has deemed enough to warrant a red card. We look at the replay, it's an absolute shocker. Dortmund down to 10 men, and we have a lifeline. Bentancur into Brennan Johnson, nice touch into Heung-min Son, tried to feed it into the onrushing Bryan Hill, but it was well defended by Dortmund. We have just 20 minutes on the clock here, less than 20 minutes to be precise, to try and get ourselves back on level terms, but it's Dortmund here who look the most likely to score. Kim Min-jae with a thumping challenge. He brings it out of defence to Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson back across, poor ball, and that has been the story of the game for Tottenham Hotspur. Kulusevski, I'm going to try and find the overlapping run of Pedro Porro, who's done a brilliant job in playing a lovely ball into him. Doesn't really have too much support though. We're not making use of the extra man here. Bryan Hill though skips away from the challenge of the defenders. Lovely ball out to Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson takes it on his right and strikes and balloons it over the bar. Leo Veliz on as a substitute. Nice ball into Pedro Porro. Fires it into the back post looking for Brennan Johnson. Doesn't find him. Bentancur wins the rebound. Nuno Mendes, I'm going to try and bring this all the way out to the left-hand side and fire it back in. I do fire it back in. This time looking for Kulusevski, who heads it over. Well, look at the time. Only 1 minute of normal time remaining, and surely there's only going to be a very short amount of stoppage time. They boot the ball clear. There is going to be a short amount of stoppage time. Only 3 minutes on the clock, and it is Borussia Dortmund who have the ball here, and it's Griezmann who has it on the edge of our box. Pavard comes across, and he does manage to win the ball. We are 5 minutes into an only 3 minute stoppage time. Griezmann dinks this across. Schuler puts the icing on the cake for Borussia Dortmund. Look at the celebrations. The Dortmund players go absolutely berserk, and you can understand why. Deep into stoppage time, and Borussia Dortmund have put the final nail in our coffin. What on earth was Vicario doing? No communication between him and Kim Min-jae, and Borussia Dortmund lead 3-0. And as we take the resulting kickoff, the referee puts us out of our misery and blows for full time. Well, from 3-2 up in the first leg to losing at home 3-0 against Borussia Dortmund, and within the blink of an eye, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club have been dumped out of the Champions League in the round of 16. And full time here, it finishes on aggregate 5-3 to Borussia Dortmund. And of course, I now have to face the media, and I look despondent because, to be honest with you, I have absolutely no idea what to say. There can be no doubt that the fans would have expected us to go through, especially with the 1-goal advantage and playing at home. But unfortunately, we just didn't deserve to go any further. In these 2 legs, we just couldn't get near them, and we absolutely got battered in our own stadium. And to be honest, we deserve to be out of the Champions League. It's a bitter pill to swallow, and now with my status with the board on shaky ground, it puts even more pressure on us to try and achieve something special in the Premier League. And as we return to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the players will be absolutely desperate to put a smile back on the fans' faces. But with Chelsea, our arch rivals from West London, being the visitors, that is going to be no easy feat. Brennan Johnson trying to burst down this left-hand side and instead cuts in and sells a dummy to the former Tottenham man and taps over. Oh my word. I thought he was going to go clean through there, but it was a wonderful piece of defending in the end. Van Foyt, another former Spurs man, and into Lo Celso, another former Spurs man. They've got 3 former Spurs players all starting here for Chelsea. Thrown across though, Ayala clears it away. Caicedo for Chelsea, into Nicholas Jackson, strikes. Big save from Vicario. Given away cheaply, and Raheem Sterling drives into the box here, cuts it back into Enzo Fernandez, and it's a fine finish from the Argentinian. Well, my word, things are going from bad to worse in a team filled of former Spurs players, managed by a former Spurs manager. Chelsea take the lead at the Spurs ground. It was a beautiful piece of play from Raheem Sterling, and a lovely finish from Enzo Fernandez that gave Vicario no chance. And frustratingly for us, our bad form goes from bad to worse. 1-0 Chelsea. Lo Celso into Raheem Sterling. Well challenged by Pedro Porro, but the Chelsea press is relentless here. And Vicario to try and bring this one out. Oh my word. Almost lost the ball there, but he was calm and collected. Mickey van der Ven gives it away to Enzo Fernandez. That has been the story of this half so far. We just can't seem to get out of our own half here. Almiron now for Chelsea. Tries to go past Ayala. Good defending though from the young Argentinian. But we've got less than 45 minutes here to try and resurrect this game and resurrect our form in this episode. It's going to be 4 games otherwise without a win here, as Jackson now picks it up on the edge of the box, being held up by Mickey van der Ven. He does manage to find a ball to Almiron. Almiron being chased down by Brennan Johnson. Again, Chelsea still retain possession. Lo Celso now looking for a ball in. Instead, Højbjerg puts in a challenge. Nicely done into Heung-min Son. He releases James Maddison, and now James Maddison to drive into the Chelsea box. He's got away from Van Foyt. Drives into the box. fabulous finish and a fabulous way to get us back on level terms. Look at this from James Maddison, skips away from Van Foyth, and he just has the pace to get away from the Chelsea centre-back. It's a wonderful finish with his left foot and a brilliant way to get the scores back to 1-1. Raheem Sterling tries to go past Romero, but it's well covered by the right back. Pedro Porro, oh, it's really cheap from Pedro Porro. Oh my word. In a blink of an eye, Chelsea are back in the lead. What on earth was he doing? I thought he had it. He got away from Sterling and just gave it straight to Jackson. And it was a brilliant finish, to be fair, from the young man. But it's such a cheap goal to give away and such an easy way to hand the lead back to Chelsea. It's 2-1 into Hotspur. Hotspur badly challenged by Enzo Fernandez, but somehow the referee has waved play on here, and Chelsea now bring it forward with Jackson. Back into Lo Celso. Lo Celso with a lovely... Oh, tried to play it past Mickey van der Ven. In the end, it was well defended by the Dutchman, but we just cannot seem to clear our lines here. Into Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son tries to play in Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson, I'm going to try and fire this across into the path of Kulusevski. It's a wonderful ball into the Swede, who takes it on, and that is the best goal of the game. Well, look at him celebrate in front of the fans, and he is right to do so. That is arguably goal of the season. The pass from Brennan Johnson, and the one-touch finish from Kulusevski with his weaker foot on his right. My word, straight into the top left-hand corner. It's 2-2. Almiron now, trying to go past Brennan Johnson. This is end-to-end stuff here. What a game this has turned into as Ayala tries to bring this out of defence. Does a really good job of skipping away from the challenge of the Chelsea midfield. It's Heung-min Son now into Bentancur. He turns, finds Brennan Johnson. My word, this is end-to-end. Brennan Johnson, no, I was trying to feed it into James Maddison. It was a poor choice and a poor ball. Celso into Jackson. Jackson back to Enzo Fernandez. Either team here could score and either team could get the victory. But Pedro Porro brings this out of defence into the path of the goal scorer Kulusevski. Into Heung-min Son. Son into James Maddison. James Maddison again. It was the wrong choice and a poor ball. Booted clear by the Chelsea goalkeeper. Only out as far as my defence as Heung-min Son picks it up. Heung-min Son trying to dance around the challenge of Caicedo. Instead feeds in Brennan Johnson. Lovely pass this time into Ayala. And Ayala forces Sanchez into a big save. And frustratingly for both teams, that turned out to be the last attack of the game. A hard-fought, back-and-forth, end-to-end game from both teams. But in the end, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it finishes Spurs 2, Chelsea 2. And with that result meaning that we still remain winless in this episode so far. Somehow, we do still find ourselves within touching distance of league leaders Liverpool with just 10 games remaining. But with our form this episode in tatters and squad morale starting to slide, I feel like I'm going from hero to zero as my status with the board is now at a critical level. And so now I've just got to hope that my important attacking players will step up to the plate and help lift what is looking like a rather large cloud that is hanging over Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Because if they don't, I could well be facing the sack. And with a 1-1 draw away from home against Coventry City really not helping my cause, I've now got my captain coming to me saying that the players are worried that the club isn't meeting their demands. And so with a tough game away from home against Newcastle at St James's Park up next, it is time for me to take matters into my own hands. If I'm going to go down, I am going to go down fighting. The players are ready, the fans are ready, I am ready. It is time for what is going to potentially be a massive game that could have huge ramifications for my management career. Tonali for Newcastle, jostling with Brennan Johnson and passes it into Murphy, who skipped past the challenge of my defenders. And now he's got Christian Romero for company, but finds Tonali. Tonali back to Prato, the right back, into Taylor. Newcastle in the ascendancy so far. Murphy has it, well worked, lovely stuff. And in the end, Vicario is forced into a save at his near post. Hermoso for Newcastle, into Murphy again, who looks like the danger man. Again, Vicario saves. Going to be Tonali who's going to take the resulting corner, fires it in, looking for the head of Harvey Barnes. Newcastle started off this game in fine form here, in the ascendancy, as we still are showing that we are really struggling with our form here. As Bentancur with a fabulous flying challenge, and it's not enough. But eventually Kulusevski does manage to get the ball clear, but he can't get it out of our own half here. Taylor for Newcastle, turns, finds Koopmeiners, well defended by Romero. Not enough, but Bentancur eventually does manage to get the ball clear. And Heung-min Son now has it. Going to try and feed this over to James Maddison. Nicely turned, wonderful stuff. Out to Brennan Johnson on the left-hand side. He's got Nuno Mendes for company behind him. He does find him. Nuno Mendes now has space on the left-hand side to try and pie this one into the box. And Heung-min Son with a big head. It's a fine save, though, from Nick Pope. Tonali. Newcastle continue to try and pile men forward here. It's well intercepted by Kim Min-jae, but we just cannot get the ball out of our own half here. It's Murphy, the danger man. Past Kim Min-jae to strike. forces Vicario into another big save. Going to be Taylor with the Newcastle corner. Just 5 minutes remaining here in the first half. Headed away by Brennan Johnson, only out as far as Harvey Barnes. Back out to Taylor on the left-hand side. Ronaldo out to Taylor again. This time it's Pedro Porro with a wonderful interception, and he can bring the ball clear. I'm going to try and play this down the line into Kulusevski. It's a wonderful ball, and Kulusevski has got green grass to run into, but has he got any options in the box? He can try and find Heung-min Son, who heads it, and oh my word, it's off the bar. Wonderful header cleared away from Newcastle, and my word, we needed that goal as the referee blows for half-time. Taylor for Newcastle into Isak in the opening 5 minutes of this second half. Newcastle started exactly how they started the first. They are in the ascendancy and they have every single player inside my half here. Tonali back into Harvey Barnes, who finds himself central. He gives it to Taylor, who strikes from distance. Vicario is forced into another save. I'm losing count of the amount of times I've said that so far this game. It's a horrendous clearance from Nuno Mendes. Harvey Barnes with a strike wide. Pedro Porro down the line into Kulusevski, gives it away. And again, Newcastle come at us. Harvey Barnes gets past Pedro Porro like he's not even there and drives into the penalty area, looking for some sort of option. Lovely reverse pass into Taylor again, gets it back. Nice one-touch pass in between the two of them. Ronaldo now the left back into Koopmeiners as he lines up a strike, and this time Newcastle do find the back of the net. While Vicario has produced save after save after save in this game, and the one save perhaps he should have made, he made a right hash of. It's a good strike from Koopmeiners, but surely Vicario should have got closer to that one. Eddie Howe celebrates. It's Newcastle 1, Spurs 0. Well, with about 20 minutes remaining, desperate times call for desperate measures, and I'm going to make a drastic decision. Veliz will come on, Pedro Porro will go off, and we will switch to 3-5-2 in a desperate attempt to try and see if we can find a way back into this game. Brennan Johnson with the throw to Heung-min Son. Brennan Johnson will get it back and he'll fire it across the box, looking for the header. Kulusevski, who gets it all wrong. Romero into Kim Min-jae. Kim Min-jae out to Nuno Mendes. Nuno Mendes tried to fire a ball into the substitute Lee Kang-in. And again, it is just a story of this game. We've given it away time and time again, and we've made it all too easy for Newcastle just to drive through our defence. And that is absolutely beautiful. The switch to 3 at the back has been an absolute calamity. And it's just all too easy for Newcastle just to waltz through the centre of my defence and fire a wicked strike into the bottom left-hand corner, leaving me in disbelief. It is 2-0 Newcastle. Harvey Barnes for Newcastle. He's got an overlapping run and he's found Ronaldo. There are spaces opening up all over the place in our defence. This has been a big mistake. Switching to 3 at the back. Taylor into Isak. Big save. Well, there's 5 minutes remaining, and of the two teams, it looks like Newcastle are more likely to try and add a third than we are to get a goal, and that is exactly what they've just done. We have completely and utterly fallen apart. It's an easy corner, and it's so easy for Tonali, I think it was, to get up ahead of Kubo, and to be fair to him, it was a wicked header that Vicario could do nothing about into the bottom corner, and Newcastle have a 3-0 lead. Alexander Isak, our heads and well have truly dropped here. Look at the spaces that Newcastle have. It's been an absolute disaster. Trossard now, who plies his straight for Newcastle, into Marlon, into Alexander Isak, off the post. It should have been 4, cleared away from Romero. Prito, the right back, with the throw out to Tonali. They're just toying with us here now, Newcastle. Marlon into our box. We can get nowhere near them. It's Tonali, straight into the arms of Vicario, and thankfully the referee blows for full time. Well, Eddie Howe shakes my hand. The Newcastle players celebrate a wonderful victory in front of their own fans. But for us, how much more Spursy can it get? When crunch time hits, we completely fall apart. As at full-time here it finishes Newcastle 3, Spurs 0. And as I look despondent in front of the media, I know that I have a lot to answer for. It was my decision to take charge today, and it was my decision to switch us to 3 at the back, which ultimately cost us big time. And with our gap to the top now falling to 5 points, with Liverpool also having a game in hand, things are starting to unravel. We do manage to get back to winning ways with a 3-2 home win against Norwich at last. Plus we managed to finally win an away game, this time beating Leicester 2-1. And whilst those 2 wins have bought me some time, with me still being behind Liverpool and with them having a game in hand, plus my status with the board at a critical level, they have issued me with a gut-wrenching ultimatum, and that is that I must win my next game of football, and if I don't, I will be sacked as manager of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And whilst I'm going to be able to try and play out what is going to be an incredible game in front of my own fans at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it is going to be one of the biggest clubs in the world in Manchester United, who I'm up against, in a game that is potentially going to define my entire reign as Tottenham Hotspur manager. Anthony for United, inside 5 minutes already, they have started better than we have, but it's Kim Min-jae with a big challenge. And Brennan Johnson will bring this out of defence into Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son can try and release the ball into the path of Bentancur. Instead, it's Maddison who does so. And Bentancur now drives into the Manchester United box. Can he try and find a cut back into Heung-min Son with his left? In the end, Casemiro with the block. It was well defended, but Son will pick it up again, and this time strike with his right. And Onana with a big save. Maddison will take the resulting corner. This is exactly the start I wanted inside the opening 10 minutes. Romero with a big head over the bar. And Ndombele for Manchester United, of course, another Spurs man plying his trade in another Premier League club, and how much he would love to put the final nail in my Tottenham Hotspur career, having not featured under me. But this time it's Brennan Johnson to streak away, and Brennan Johnson drives through the heart of the Manchester United defence, and Brennan Johnson with a wonderful strike. It's just wide. Look at this from Brennan Johnson. Fabulous play. Oh my word. Inches away from a fantastic goal. And don't I just know it. Bruno Fernandes turns into Sancho. Sancho back out to Anthony on the right hand side. Nuno Mendes desperately tracking back, but he can't put a decent enough challenge in. Correa back to Sancho now. United playing well on the edge of my box. Drive into my box. What a save from Vicario. Going to be United corner. 25 minutes on the clock in. Neither team able to break the deadlock. And remember, the board said I must win today. A draw or a loss will not be enough as United send the ball wide. Sancho. Lovely pass into Dalot, the overlapping right back. Wonderful challenge from Kim Min-jae though, but it's Sancho into Correa. Oh my word, Vicario comes out to save our blushes. What a sensational save. Casemiro into Ndombele. Ndombele, nice pass into Correa, out to Sancho. Sancho goes one-on-one with Romero, it's blocked. And Ndombele though will pick it up, and he will try and see if he can find a ball inside. He does find Sancho. Sancho, nice twisting, nice turning, strikes. Big save from Vicario. Booted away again, this time from Kim Min-jae. Well, unbelievably, as we start the second half, I've got 45 minutes to try and find a goal. And 45 minutes to save my career as Tottenham Hotspur Football Club manager. Kulusevski in space, but he cuts back inside for Hojbjerg. Hojbjerg drives into the box. He's almost taken down by the Manchester United defenders. And it is Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg who scores the goal. And my goodness, what an important goal that might turn out to be. The crowd go absolutely wild, and my word, I'm going wild. He was almost taken out by the Manchester United centre-back, but he does enough to drive into the box, and what a powerful strike past the goalkeeper. He stepped up right when I need him to, and look how delighted I am. It's 1-0 Spurs. Into Correa. United looking to strike back as soon as possible, and Anthony now has it being held up. Not being held up by Nuno Mendes. Anthony still has it onto his left. It's well blocked over from Kim Min-jae and headed away. Finds Heung-min Son, and Heung-min Son will feed in Brennan Johnson, and Brennan Johnson has loads of space here to run into. Brennan Johnson into the box. Going to try and cut this one back. Well intercepted by Dalot. Anthony for United now. One-on-one with Kim Min-jae. Anthony, though, continues. No one putting in a challenge. He's still going. He's still going. Trying to get into the box. He does get into the box with Sancho. Sancho back to Anthony. Into Mason Mount. And oh my word, Vicario may well have just saved my Tottenham career. Heung-min Son out to Pedro Porro on the right hand side. Just 20 minutes remaining for me to hold on, and he fires it across looking for Maddison over the bar. There is about 5 minutes left on the clock here for us to try and desperately hold on. Højlund now looking for options. Just continues though into Bruno Fernandes. Gets it back from Fernandes. Oh my word, it's a brilliant strike from Højlund. Look at the celebrations. He's gone absolutely berserk. He gets the goal that brings United back on level terms. But what does this mean? The captain, Heung-min Son, cannot believe what he's seeing. A brilliant piece of play. It flicked off the back of the boot of Bruno Fernandes. I don't even think he meant to play it back to him. But what a finish. Vicario's been sensational, but he could do nothing about that. And it's 1-1. Well, now with only a few minutes remaining, we have to try and find a way to win this game. And Kulusevski now has it. He turns, tries to play it back into the path of Pedro Porro. He gives it back to Bentancur as the referee blows for full time. Well, the players know exactly what that result means. Vicario is despondent. I look up to the skies as after almost a 2-year tenure, my time at the club comes to an end as I have been sacked as manager of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Getting the team back in the Champions League, fighting for Premier League glory and winning the FA Cup for the first time in over 30 years still wasn't enough to satisfy the board. As much to my dismay, my time at the club comes to an end, and this career mode sadly comes to an end as well. Thank you everyone for watching. I will be starting out another career mode with another team very shortly. Hopefully I will get better luck that time around, and hopefully I'll see you again next time.